All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the saddest episode, if you're a North American fan, of Facecheck. Week 21 of Facecheck, episode 21, about to go down here. Degon, Dom, and Loco here, the Facecheck crew, to break down all the action to close out Worlds groups. Now, before we start, just want to give a heads up. Zyrene has had a lot of commitments. We've already done multiple episodes without him, so the three of us will be rocking through the rest of the World's coverage for the rest of the time period, and then we'll look at bringing Zyrene back on in. Loco and Dom, how are you guys doing? Obviously, Worlds just finished up yesterday, and there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, dude, Every night before a group stage day, I tell myself, hey, I'm going to go to sleep early and wake up at 6 a.m. and co-stream groups. And then every single morning at 6 a.m. when my alarm goes off, I'm like, no one watches co-streams anyways. Just do the VOD review once the day is done.
I've been waking up and just doing the co-stream anyway. Because, I don't know, I've just been less about view count recently. So I know I would get more viewers, obviously, if I streamed beforehand. But I'm fine just streaming, watching Worlds with my chat. And it actually forces me to watch every single minute of every single game, you know? Mm-hmm. So, I don't skip anything. And I think it makes me a more, accurate analyst. So I'm okay just co-streaming, getting 2K viewers. It's been a good time for me.
Damn, that's the worth of a financially secure streamer. That's the worth of a streamer who doesn't have to worry about money.
Yeah, man, I watched you play League at the end of one of those streams, and you played one game. And
45 minutes. That's the most I can do. Yeah. Season 10, please come save me, please. Well, it's also really hard because if I stream, if I co-stream, then I'm gonna put 0 delay. So then I was also playing on my highest MMR account, so I would play my highest MMR account with 0 delay right after Worlds. Just was not worth it.
All right, well, let's see if you can get back into the gaming streamer type mood now that group stages are over. We're going to go ahead and break this down group stage by group stage, or group by group, and then talk big strokes at the very end. We'll look forward to the quarterfinals, but of course, we've got some very spicy tweets of the week. We have a lot of tweets that we need to make up on, and thankfully, due to the end of Worlds, have a lot of people popping off from the mouth through the safety of the internet, including someone taking shots at our boy Loco. So we'll take a look at those.
Splyce, I was like, who the hell took shots at me? And they were so irrelevant, I forgot. Usually when there's drama, I wake up and I think about the drama, and I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to say to it? And it's on my mind all the time. It was literally just not even on my mind.
Really? I just respond instantly based off only anger. That's my philosophy with how to deal with drama.
And that's
how I get in more trouble than you. I think through things. Holy shit.
Yeah, hey, you thinking through is not as good as Dom saying.
Maybe that's just the case.
Holy shit. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into this.
All right. Well, let's kick things off with my favorite group. This was the one that I thought we were going to find success. But we all know why this one's my favorite group, because the way it ended, obviously not the way it started. G2, Griffin, Cloud9, Hong Kong Attitude. That's how the groups ended up finishing, except with Griffin finishing up on top with G2. Griffin looked absolutely dominant. Not two completely different teams, but they evolved into this monster that just crapped on everybody, along with G2 just getting some lackluster wins. And then Cloud9 not able to get over the hump, able to beat Hong Kong Attitude, have themselves, a perfect KDA, 100% win record, future hero of Cloud9 on their roster. I don't know. We'll
30 CS in lane.
We'll get into that one later, guys. Go ahead, take it away.
Same guy. Yep, that guy.
Damn, I realized I'm slow as fuck today when Daniel said, "Oh man, I love how this group ended." I'm like, why do you care about C9 not making it? Or why do you care about Griffin beating G2? And I'm like, oh shit, this was the time that definitely played. Yeah. Also, Daniel, if you have a separate graphic, our graphic is from first half.
I couldn't find it. I can cover the scores if we want.
No, it's okay. Just letting you know. Mm-hmm. All right, Griffin dominating. So I think week 2 Griffin, the 2 games they played versus Cloud9 and G2, or not the 2 games versus Cloud9 and G2, the 2 they played versus G2, were so clean and were so good, but I think it's going to be so hard to see that kind of Griffin again.
Why is that?
I feel like Griffin's the type of team where when they're comfortable, they play so much better than when they're not. So like at the beginning of Worlds, it's like it's iffy, you know, like they just come in, they're playing with Sword, there's all this like drama, etc. The second they get comfortable, it's just like the same thing with the regular season. The second they get comfortable, they just start dominating everyone. So I don't know how they'll progress. Like I don't feel like they could win the tournament because of that. I feel like there'll be at least some point where the pressure gets them again. But it seems like when they are like calm, focused, like they have like clear plans, etc., they're just one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, so peak Griffin is all 5 players being incredibly in sync, knowing exactly what they need to do, and everyone executing on it, and then not making mistakes when they need to reset or when it's not their timing, when they don't have their power spike, and then playing aggressive again when they do have their power spike. Like that kind of way to play takes so much patience and so much discipline. I just am not sure if that's something that a team can maintain throughout rest of Worlds. Like the way they play is fucking insane, and to expect them to do that every single time is asking.
Yeah, but they don't need like if they play as well as they did, yeah, then it's like fucking 20-2 games where they just shit all over G2. But I don't feel like they need to play that well to even make it to finals potentially, right? Because they're on the side of the bracket where they're playing against IG first. IG looked okay, but definitely did not look as good as Griffin did.
Right.
And then the other side of it is FPX Fnatic, which is probably gonna like I would say that's probably gonna end up being the weakest quarterfinal teams if you assume that Griffin wins and then you have G2, SKT. Like out of all those teams, I feel like that's gonna be probably the weakest slot. So I could see like this Griffin getting to finals with how the bracket shaked out for them.
Do you think that Griffin was the strongest team, the strongest looking team out of all the teams in the second half?
So the thing is, like, we're going to be a victim of the moment. Griffin had the best second half, so I think it's easy to say, oh, Griffin looks the best and Griffin should be number 1, but we have to take like everything as a whole.
I think SKT looked the best, personally. I feel like SKT looked like the best team. Yeah, I mean, they lost one game to Fnatic where they got essentially outdrafted. They didn't understand the power of Vygar. That's something that's not played in LCK, at least not as a mid laner. Sometimes you see it as like an AD carry, like for example, Nuclear played it. But generally speaking, it seems like they just had a game where they came up with a strategy and they didn't think about the fact that like Vygar could counter everything that their champions did. So like Lee Sin, Akali, like all these champions, the Vygar cage is a hard counter too. So I think that in a best of 5, SKT looks like they'll be the best team. Like if that was a best of 5 with them and Fnatic, I'm sure that it would be like, okay, ban Vygar or have a different approach to the pick ban phase. Don't pick 5 champions with 1 million dashes, and then go forward into like the next game, etc. So I'm not really worried about SKT. I feel like SKT looks like the strongest team still.
Yeah, and to your point, Loco, like I agree. Like it is kind of like we're looking at the moment against a Cloud9 and Hong Kong attitude that, I don't think we're as good compared to SKT's group. But we're now getting to the point where you have a 5-game series and that's it. You don't have like a whole day. You don't have multiple matches against multiple different teams. You know that you're getting the best of the best. So that's why I kind of wanted to just check your heat check on how Griffin is looking currently. But I think your thinking overall is correct, where it's, hey, look, SKT is probably the overall better team on a if you took 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, if you take all 6 games that were played, then I would probably lean SKT, but it's just Griffin had an incredibly strong week 2 versus twice versus G2.
They had a good tiebreaker, but also it felt like they didn't really get tested in the same way.
Yeah.
Like I feel like part of the reason why I value SKT is because they got tested in every phase of the game and were able to like pull out, but it felt like pull it out. But I feel like Griffin, for example, they just I don't know, they just either smashed or got smashed in the early game, and they never got into games that were super, super close, and they had to make like Baron they had to like play around Baron like optimally, and they didn't have massive leads going into that phase. So like the only game that I think was like really close from them was the Cloud9 one against Sona Tom, where they had the Garen Yumi. I felt like that game they actually was tested a little bit. Like
they should have lost that one.
Yeah, they should have lost it, but they actually had to come back a little bit in it. But I don't know. I value the SKT game so highly because, like, for example, the first time we saw SKT versus RNG, I feel like that is what a playoff game could look like. That's like a game 1 of like a playoff series where you have like TF, you have to win through split. Like there's so many different times where it's back and forth and you have to like mentally regroup and stay calm. And I feel like just having veteran members is so useful in times like that. Like I watched the voice comms that they did. T1 released voice comms for the SKT versus RNG game, and you could tell just the presence that Faker has. Like, they lose Baron, everything is going to shit, and he's just sitting there like calm as fuck. Like, we cannot win in 5v5 anymore. We need to split. Like, we have TP. Like, all right, like I'm backdooring TP to me. Like, it was just so clear, clear, calm, and collected that I felt like
that you can play jungle again if you.
No, I just feel like that's what a championship team has. I feel like that factor is so critical when you go into like really close series. Like having people that just think about the game like that and can be so objective about like game state. So I mean, I have like huge faith in SKT. To I think that they're gonna probably win this Worlds or at least make it to finals.
I mean, we can talk more on SKT when we get to their group. What do you think about G2 versus Griffin overall, and like how G2 did?
Well, I mean, so for me, it's kind of weird because I thought Jankos underperformed really, really hard in group stage, right? He had one game that was good, which was the Elise game. The Olaf game was like, okay. I mean, I didn't really consider that one too much because he didn't have a super good early game, but then he got a bunch of kills mid. So people are going to be like, oh, his scoreline, dude, he got a triple kill. He's popping off. But in reality, it just didn't look like he was on his shit. You know, and Jankos is the best jungler in LEC. The way he's playing is he's like consistently like pressuring lanes. He's in the right place at the right time, getting ganks off, getting dives off. He just plays the game like optimally from a macro standpoint, but it felt like he was just getting caught over and over again in these series. Like he was just doing weird things. Like he started the ocean drag, pretty much just gave it to the enemy team when his team was actually winning. Then he's getting like caught by Qiyana every single time. He loses the Qiyana versus Lee Sin matchup. Then he plays the Lee Sin side, and then he loses that side. It just felt like he was playing really under what his natural skill level is. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to like judge G2 because I feel like, yeah, if Jankos plays that bad, then G2 is not the same G2. You know, like he's normally a much stronger individual player than that. So
you dedicate those boppings of G2 to the hands of Griffin to just Jankos?
I mean, it's more than
I think Wonder and Mickey also didn't play as well as normal. Okay. I thought Caps and Perks were the two strongest players on the team, the most consistent. I thought Wonder's first week was pretty bad. His second week I thought was a little bit better, but I think that a lot of the matchups that they gave him like really shitty situations. Like I don't know how other people value Kale Top. I think he's the only one. Yeah, I think it's bad, right? Like he's the only one playing it. Yeah. I think it's just much better mid because you need to scale at least to level 6, and Top is just so volatile. He's getting dove over and over again. Like I don't know if Caps can't play it because I don't think we've played it yet. I don't think he's played it yet in this tournament, but draft like seemed like it didn't go Wonder's favor, but I felt like he played okay. I thought Mickey was a little bit off. Like he's normally super clean on Rakan. Like if you give him Rakan, it's normally just GG. It's okay. This guy's just going to carry the game, but his Rakan looked a little bit off. So I'd say that those three were the people that were like underperforming the hardest, but out of those three, Jankos was the worst one in my opinion.
The thing on Caps and Perks playing well in the final tiebreaker game they played where Perks is on Zoe, he's like the only one creating situation for G2. He's constantly landing hits on Xayah. He's constantly landing bubbles on Xayah. And everyone else is just falling apart. And as for Jankos, both Qiyana games were so bad from him. And Qiyana is a champion where you have majority of your spells feel targeted. I know a lot of them you have to aim, but due to how...
No, you don't have to aim. You don't have to aim shit on Qiyana.
You don't have to aim at one thing. And her skill shot is so wide for the ult. Like it is... You just have to hit them. You just have to graze them, and it works. So I was shocked to see him play that badly.
Well, I don't even think it was like mainly mechanical. It just felt like he was just like his interpretation of like how many people were like at crab at certain times, how many people were contesting wards at certain times. Like, it felt like he didn't know where the enemies were, and he would just walk into situations feeling strong and just get one shot over and over again. So I don't think it was down to his Qiyana mechanics. I think it was down to his decision making. Like he's in places where he can't be with Qiyana. And you saw, the last point I was going to make is you saw how Tarzan played the Qiyana versus Lee Sin matchup. Like that is a bad matchup for Qiyana. Lee Sin should beat Qiyana. Lee can just win the 1v1s throughout the map. You can't like stealth if the Lee hits the Q, etc. With Qiyana, you can't use like brush to stall out fights, etc. That's a Lee Sin favored matchup, and it's up to Qiyana to like take fights on the Lee Sin when he has follow up, because Qiyana can instantly burst off like of the Lee Sin's health, but he can't finish it. Then Lee Sin would normally just shit on you. So he took fights like when he knew his mid laner was coming, when he knew his support was coming, where the support could do that extra 25% damage. And once you get like a little bit ahead on Qiyana, that 75%, like damage burst threshold just goes to 100% and you can actually one shot. So it just felt like just conceptually he was playing the matchup wrong. And you saw like how Tarzan was playing it, and it's like, okay, you can easily identify the right mentality towards the matchup versus the wrong mentality.
I mean, it definitely has to do with the junglers, but I also think it's how they work together as a team. Shen or Leehand was so good about hiding in brushes where Jankos didn't expect it. That's why he's walking into places and getting opened on, because he's like, well, I didn't expect the Shen to be here. And also regarding some of the fights they're taking and if they should take it or not, Griffin just has a way better idea on when they can fight or not. So there's this one play in the tiebreaker, it's in Herald, where Tarzan's in the pit. Like, I don't remember if it was Tarzan or Leehand. They're in the pit, like taking wars. And then G2's kind of poking at them. G2's starting a fight. And then the fight starts. Orange there before Jace. And the fight is just over. They just smashed them in that fight. So I go back and watch that. And the moment they were in the pit and G2 is hitting them, Ornn gave up a wave to move before Jace. Like, Griffin plans out when they're going to fight so far in advance. Like, even 10, 15 seconds before anything happens, like, they're already moving, they're already getting ready, and you're responding to them, and you realize, holy fuck, they had to set up the moment, like, we were here to try to even look for something.
I mean, I think that it's also just conceptually you have to like understand which fights are going to be good for you if it's on even footing and which aren't. Like G2, it felt like G2 has always been kind of the team that likes to fight. Like if they have the option to fight, even if it's not like a super profitable fight where it's like, oh, I mean, the enemy team technically has better team fight, I don't know if you should be fighting this. It feels like G2 is always on the side of let's fight, let's outplay. Like we're just better players, so we're going to come out on top. We're just going to like out mechanic you in the team fight. But when you play against a really good team like Griffin, you just can't do that. If the enemy team has an Ornn and you have a Jace, 5v5s are just not going to be good for you. Like it's just completely different champions in terms of like strength. Unless the Jace is super far ahead like the Shy got, then it can actually start team fighting better. But Ornn versus Jace in those like Herald fights, it's so hard for G2 to actually win. It seems like they just need to be more okay. Like if they're going to draft worst team, like they can either do one of two things. They either draft better team fight where they draft more tanks for Wonder, less Kale top, less Jace top, things like that. They draft more things that are better in team fights, so they draft more Vlad, Ornn, etc. Or they just go the other way and they're like, hey, you know what? We're just going to take the champions that we think are good, but we're not going to opt into every fight. We're going to stick the Kale on the sideline. We're going to stick the Jace on the sideline. We're going to actually force you to respond to that pressure, because G2 is, I think, the best Western 1-3-1 team that we've had, like that we've seen. But they haven't like shown this at all recently.
Dude, I love the flow of the games, because in the first game where G2 must have screamed some of the Eastern teams, they arrived at the conclusion, we have to outscale them. We can't beat them in the early game. And they did that versus Griffin in week 1, and they were able to win. And then in the second game, they did pretty much tried the same thing where they're like, okay, we're going to try to outscale you again. Yasuo, Gragas, Kale, Ryze, like we have the better scaling comp. And they got blown open in the early game. And then they're like, okay. Fuck that late game scaling shit. For the final game, we're gonna be early game. We're gonna have stuff like Kiana. We're gonna have stuff like Shen. We're gonna take stuff away from you, and then we're gonna beat you in the early game. And then they get blown open also. So I'm pretty curious what they're gonna do if they meet Griffin again, or what their identity is gonna be. Where G2 has the problem of too many talent and too many gifts, where they can be a more early game focused team, or they can be a late game team fighting focused team. Also, it's not a luxury that a lot of the teams have. But now they have to make a decision on how they're going to be.
I feel like at this point, they need to start like really, because I feel like G2's always been the type of team where they're like, we can play every champion, right? Like all the players can play every champion. But I feel like at this point, they need to start like really coming down with like, hey, which bans do we think are going to be good throughout like the rest of this tournament? Are we actually good as Kale as a team? Like, are we playing Kale because we like playing Kale? Because I don't feel like G2 is the type of team that inherently would be a great Kale team, right? Like they like to move around the map early. They like to take a lot of like 3-4 man fights. They like to do things like have Caps take TP and TP bot level 4. Like they like to force the early aggression. I don't know. Like I don't think that it's a champion that like Caps could ever play, but stylistically, do they want to like leave Kale up? Do they want to have Kiana like in their champion pool, or do they want to arrive on some bans where it's like, okay, we're on blue side, we ban Pantheon, Kale, Kiana, and that's like, and we're going to force teams to play into our own strengths instead of just like playing to theirs.
So I think that's an interesting point you guys bring up. Loco, you're now coach of G2. Do you play? Where do you play? Who do you play around? Because you've said you've got a lot of guys that you can play around. You got Caps, you got Perks. Even Wonder's had his opportunity to shine. How do you decide this? And you can just, for conversation's sake, will be blue side, if that matters.
What Dom said, I think, is correct. and more so than deciding which lanes I'm playing to, I have to figure out my picks. In the G2 versus Fnatic series, they had Yasuo and Qiyana permaban. I still think G2 is probably the best Yasuo team, but they're definitely not the best Qiyana team. Like,
True.
Yanko's played Qiyana twice, and the Qiyana looked kind of garbo. We haven't seen Caps play it yet, but they have to really figure out what they want to do with Qiyana, and they really have to make sure Jankos is playing well against. So I think they have to get their ducks in order in terms of like what picks they're doing, and then we can go from there. For support, I also think it's kind of worrisome. As Dom said, Mickey is usually incredibly consistent. Like G2 bot lane is incredibly consistent. Perks is showing that consistency, but Mickey isn't. So yeah, I want to figure out picks for the players that are struggling and really think about which picks I'm going to lean more towards. Like picks like Syndra work really well for G2. But yeah, Kale, Qiyana. Elise also really good for G2. But Kale, Qiyana, they really have to figure these two out and what they're going to do with it.
So from watching the whole tournament, I feel like the OP band. So there was originally like 3 to 4 OPs, like really OPs that people were looking at, which were Yuumi, Pantheon, Qiyana, and Kale. Right, like those were like the 4 champions where it was like, okay, which 3 are you banning on purple side, red side, whatever. So I think that one of the things they really need to start doing is trying to evaluate how good Qiyana is throughout the whole tournament, because you've seen a lot, like out of all the OP bans, the one that's been getting dropped the most has been the Qiyana ban. Like they've just left Qiyana through the whole way. Like TL obviously lost to Rookie playing Qiyana in the last game, but that was not like a super high priority pick for TL. It was like, okay, we can give Qiyana and counter pick it. I feel like Qiyana's annoying to deal with. It really like changes the landscape of certain fights. Like it makes it so you can't fight in certain areas that you normally would want to fight into. So like when you go into the jungle to clear vision, you have to be worried about the Qiyana ult. But Qiyana doesn't like have that many great mid or jungle matchups. Like most of the matchups should be able to like outpace it in the early game. Like, so for example, even though Jensen lost the lane, LeBlanc is historically good into Qiyana. Orianna is another pick that is good in lane against Qiyana. Akali is good into Qiyana. It's like if you have enough of these OP champions, I feel like that's just something that you can't be like, oh, we're going to first pick Qiyana. Like we need to play Qiyana. You can play into this champion and like let them have it, especially in a best of 5. You can let them have it like 1 or 2 games, see how it goes. And if they really start proving their worth on Qiyana, then you can start banning it later on. But I just feel like this champion is the most likely to see dropped out of like the super OP bans.
Dude, oh man, I think Qiyana is so broken. So Qiyana as a champion like breaks so much of the rules or design pillars that Riot wants to have for champions. They're like, well, we think assassins kill you too fast and we want you to be able to fight back versus assassins. So now assassins will have windows where they can kill you at. And we're going to try to take away CC from assassin. Qiyana has 2 guaranteed CCs. Like, what the actual fuck? And so she's supposed to be a laner. And her problem is supposed to be kind of bad in lane in the early levels due to not having a lot of access to a lot of skills, especially in level 1 and 2. She can be really weak. Just play her jungle and bypass that completely. And she's supposed to not scale well with items. But you know what scales really fucking well? Utility. Like the utility with ult is just so god tier. And being able to flash ER target from such a long distance while you're flanking. Like there's just so much bullshit parts of her where I feel like if people play her well enough, like she's always going to be OP. I
mean, the thing is, like there are definitely strengths to Qiyana, but if you're not able to get to the point where you have, your warrior completed on jungle or you have your first lethality item, mid lane, it's really hard for you to actually like straight up like win a lane or win a matchup. Like you really need the enemy team to allow you to allow you, like they have to give you an opening to be able to do something. Like a lot of the Qiyana players, you see them always rush Moby boots, and it's not even because they want to roam a lot. Like a lot of people are like, I mean, obviously Rookie used it to roam, but mainly Qiyana's have to go Moby boots because you can't go TP or you have not enough damage in your burst combo, and you need to like push the lane, reset with your Mobies, and then run back to lane over and over again because you're not actually able to like stay with all these champions. So it's really up to like people to know what the champion does, because there are defined weaknesses to Qiyana, and it feels like a lot of the people, like when I was watching Jensen play against Qiyana, I really was questioning how much Qiyana he's played before. I know he's probably played into a lot, but like TL never picks it, right? It's like, how much Qiyana practice does he actually have? Because it didn't feel like he was super aware of like how much damage the champion was going to do in certain situations. Like when he got solo killed by Rookie mid, it seemed like when he walked up, I don't think he like like it looked so obvious. Like from a Kiana player's perspective, it's like, dude, you're just dead if you walk up with like an electrocute proc. Like EQ auto, you're just dead. And it seemed like for him, he was surprised by the damage. So I feel like a lot of these players just banned it because they didn't want to have to learn it. Like when it came out, they didn't learn it, and then they're like, oh, whatever. Now people are playing. I'm just gonna ban it instead. I feel like if these players like put more time on that champion, they would have a better understanding of how to play against it.
Yeah.
So,
And once you made comments about like Kale and Kiana, I started playing solo queue again because I felt like we disagreed. I'm like, maybe if I play it more, I'll agree. Yeah, Kale OP at level 11. But I'm still on the Kiana thing. If the Kiana player is good enough, like the counterplay just isn't there. And yeah, and one mistake, she just does way too much in team fights. Like as anyone that's played anything squishy, you can't have full vision on Kiana always, especially because when she has Mobies and she has an element, she walks so fast. Like she can find flank angles so easily. Like that champion just has so much threat just by being behind you. Like an assassin should not have that kind of threat in terms of like she's gonna be able to kill me instantly, CC me, and also CC the rest of my team. Like just later on, like her in flank position holds way too much threat with not enough counterplay. So you can't flash her stuff. Like that's the bullshit part.
So you can actually, I didn't see many people doing this, but you can actually flash in between the pushback and the wall stun. So on the ult, like unless she roots an insta ult, which sometimes like if you have tenacity, the root won't last long enough. If you have tenacity, if Kiana EQ and then ults you into the wall, you'll get knocked back. But before like the stun of the wall comes up, you can actually flash. And I felt like not that many people were doing that.
I had no idea you could even do that.
Yeah, you can actually flash in that like frame, but a lot of people don't do that. Oh, okay. Somebody in the chat is very happy that I mentioned this.
The thing is, people do R flash on her or flash ER, and it's so hard to react.
You just have to like understand like that is like an opportunity. Obviously, it's not good to flash there every single time if you're still gonna die, but like I don't think enough people like even know that you can do that.
So we did the deep dive in on Kiana and Kale just a bit there. Let's reel it back into Group A. Thoughts on first of the three sadnesses of North America. Cloud9 not able to get it done. It was competitive for a little while, but really no success until after they were already out and subbed out Sneaky and gave a game to Blabber and the greatest AD carry to walk North America. Definitely. What are your thoughts on Cloud9's second half run and then as a run as a whole here for Group A?
It feels really weird. So in the C9 versus Griffin game, where we talked about Blabber giving them better early game, Blabber definitely gives them better early game, but I feel like they lost that in the mid game where they can't, like they literally fucking got caught where they had Baron and they have a Fiora that's unstoppable and that's going to split push to no end. And I think it was Sneaky Blabber that were caught in mid lane and the fight got started. Like that was game losing mistake. So now I still don't know how I feel about Blabber versus Sven Skaren.
I mean, Sven had a bad Worlds. Like Sven looked just objectively worse in the games we saw. Like I don't know, the Nocturne game was pretty bad by him. Like him committing on the top crab. Like instead of just stealing the crab and running away, him trying to like run at the Elise when Camille had priority. I don't know. I think that was like just a game losing play because it got Licorice killed, and then as soon as you have your Shen fall behind versus the Akali in top lane, then it just becomes the Akali is going to have full pressure and solo kill. I think that in general, like C9's team comp, it had a win condition, but they just fucked it up way too hard. Like all those champions. So when the game that I've found most important for them, obviously in the second half, was when they played against Griffin, and they had the like level 6 team comp where they had Shen top, Galio bot, Nocturne, Kale, like they have this team comp that's about like this huge wombo. It's like, okay, we have like a defined like time where if we start a fight on you, we have the tools to win, right? Like if you have a Nocturne coming in with Shen ult, Galio ult, Kale ult, and Shen ult, you're just gonna be able to shit on the enemy team in that fight. You should, but they fucked it up so bad and they were so far behind before they hit that that timing window. It didn't even matter. Yeah. So I feel like in general, that just like, even though the comp makes sense, like there's obviously like a way that you can play it. It's just the meta for right now in Worlds is champions that can fight a lot, like often. It's not like, oh, let's wait around 3 minutes for our ult to make like a team play, which is what they did here. It's more like we want champions like Renekton, Talia that can always fight. Like we can always do the burst, we can always gank, we can always like make a play, as opposed to, oh, Nocturne, Shen, Galio. These are some of the longest ults in the game. Like obviously Nocturne takes presence of mind and stuff like that in Ultimate Hunter. So eventually it goes down. But starting out, these are like 3-minute ult CDs, and you have to get like kills. And even if you get kills during those windows, you can just get out pressured by people that are playing things like Camille Elise that can just fight a lot more often than you.
I think that's when Tarzan's the most insane. When you give him stuff like Camille Elise or Renekton Talia, where he has a guaranteed lane he can gank long as the wave is correct, he'll have perfect pathing and then get that gank off every time, get that dive off every time. Like that's when he looks so insane. But yeah, as you said, like you have a level 6 comp and they're diving you level 4 and 5 with Camille, Elise, and Rakan mid lane. Like your level 6 keeps getting delayed and it becomes so obvious where you're going to make the play. The enemy team is just so ready for it, or they just don't give you the opportunity at all.
So that's a team comp issue, not necessarily an execution issue.
The thing is, you didn't even get to see if it actually could work because they fucked it up so terribly, right? like when they walked into the river, right? They used Galio ult, they used Galio ult and Shen ult on a Kayle. Like the second that he walked in, right? He gets a Rakan W'd. Instant Galio ult, instant Shen ult, and then he stopwatches, and that's like your whole engage, and then you just see Sven flying into the back line with none of these ultimates on him. He didn't get Kayle ult, he didn't get Galio ult, he didn't get Shen ult, he got nothing, and he just goes straight into the back line and kills himself and gets one shot. And it's like, all right, well, now the game's over because that was your one opportunity to get back into the game. That was your one window to win, and you fucked it up so bad that you're never going to be able to recover because by the time that you get your next ultimates in 3 minutes, the game is already so progressed, it's so snowballed that that's not even a window where you win anymore. Like now when you all have your ults, you just still lose.
Yeah, that was there was a great interview from Sneaky at the end of it, right? They showed a loser side interview right after that game, after the Hong Kong Attitude victory, where he outlined that. He was like, it just felt like this Worlds was, we were pretty far behind on the meta. We saw a lot of comps that we weren't familiar with, and when we tried to execute it, especially something that is scaling with globals, we just weren't on the same page. And props to Sneaky for taking a lose side interview, and you know those are tough. Like seeing players after they lose, you guys remember it, they're usually insanely dejected.
It's cancer.
You did it too? You've done one before?
I've had to do a loser interview. Yeah, it's like, so why do you suck? It's like, I don't know, man. Can I go home now? Like that's pretty much the interview.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, I mean. So it was a good interview. If you guys have a chance to check that out, go check out Sneaky's loose side interview because, again, props to a guy that we don't normally get to see or hear from that much in that kind of moment. But, yeah, so Cloud9, just not looking good in terms of comp. Didn't execute it correctly either. Do we want closing thoughts here on Groups A?
One last thing that I want to just kill. I just thought of this because I was reading a lot of like the comments. You know, every time NA like is shit, there's always this huge like, why are we shit? How do we get better?
Do we want to do this now, or do you want to wait until after?
Well, no, I just wanted to say one point of this that I really hate, and it relates to C9.
Sure.
Is that like people are always like, yeah, it's because NA just keeps on trying to copy other teams, and we don't develop our own meta. And it's like, if you look at this world, it's like we tried all this different shit. Like Clutch was trying like all these 80 carries top, Trist, Ezreal, things like that. We had fucking C9 playing 3 games of mages in the bot lane, and
Sona.
we did like the Sona Galio. We did the Nocturne Galio Shen comp. We had the Jarvan Galio from TL. They did a lane. So it's not like we didn't try shit. It's just that we fucking sucked. So it's like the real thing is not, let's bring it back in and let's try to develop our own meta. It's like, no, we just have to try something different because what we tried didn't work.
Anything to add, Loco? I see it.
I'm not really. Like, I think there is like a baseline meta that you have to be able to play. And then when you add on top of that, that's where like it's really good. Like Korea with Renekton Elise or Renekton Talia, like on top of that, they're playing everything they need to be. Like all the Korean teams, like they play Yasuo Gragas bottom, Teddy plays Kayle, all the mid laners play Kayle. They can swap. I haven't seen them swap Syndra into bot lane. Probably Korea doesn't play mages bot lane, but Korea plays like 90%, 85% of all the meta champions. You can't really innovate and have your own meta. Well, you can, but it becomes a crutch. If you don't play majority of the meta champions and then you're still trying to innovate and do your own thing, it looks really weird and it becomes really weak. It's where you have mastery over the meta champs and then you have your own special things on top of that. That's where it's actually a tool and that's where it actually gives you an advantage.
I just feel like the strategies that we went for don't fit the strengths of the teams that we had, right? So it's like if C9 is going to be going to Worlds, their strength is not going to be playing mages in the bot lane. Like they don't have a mid laner bot like G2 has, right? They have Sneaky playing bot. So if Sneaky's playing bot, you don't want to give him things like Cassio. Like you have to try to find, have to try to find like if you're going to play different things, I think that's fine, but you just have to find things that actually suit the strengths of your own players instead of like going into it being like, well, Perks plays a bunch of like mages bot. Maybe the meta is mages bot this time. Let's fucking put Sneaky on all these mages bot. It's like, well, he's never been good on mages bot. Like if you want to put mages bot, like get a fucking mage player to play bot. You know, put Niski in the bot lane and get another mid laner if that wants to be your fucking strategy. But it seems like super weird the ways that we have like decided to, you know, like bring our flair or whatever to the world stage. It's like, wait, these are like the worst people that could be playing these champions, I feel like.
Yeah. What do you think about the Deathly sub?
It's irrelevant. It's one game versus HQ at the end. He went down 30 CS in lane to Taiwanese AD carry. That's
a pretty solid Taiwanese AD carry. I mean,
okay, all right.
he played the team fights great. Come on, man. Come on.
Dude, that game was, they wanted to style so fucking hard. They're playing, everyone plays stylish champion except for Zeyzo, Kai'Sa, Echo, Jax, Yasuo. That was a throwaway game. And everyone's just playing stuff they want to play and like they want to show off that.
Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
At least he got a game at Worlds. I just, you know, it's so weird when people are like, so do you think like this world experience is going to help Deathly? It's like, this isn't Worlds experience. Like playing one game at the end of the
he played a show match.
Yeah, he played a show match, dude. What Worlds experiences is like when you fucking go there and you're like under all the pressure and you have to like do all the prep and you play the games that actually fucking matter. And then you feel the pressure because you know the games actually matter. That's when like, I feel like players get like beaten down by Worlds and then grow the next year.
Well, I think Deathly's in a unique category, definitely, and Blabber. Well, not as much Blabber, but definitely is in a unique category of the subs that get to go and then come back and are in a good position. We don't know the future of Sneaky quite yet, or you know, anything like that. But he had all that experience. So if he ever has the opportunity to go again, because a lot of players don't even get to go to Worlds, he already knows how things are made. Because a lot of the time, players get hung up on logistics and what is it like being at Worlds even before you even get to playing the game. So he's had the opportunity to go and do that and play, as you guys said, on stage once on a show match. So I think it is a good experience for him.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to touch on in this group.
Wait, look, one thing I did want to ask, Dom, what do you think for Blabber's Svenskeren now? Like, where does that go?
I think that Blabber, like, I think that they probably keep Svenskeren. And Blabber just has to be on an LCS team. I think he's actually really good. I would say Blabber's better than Smithy. I would take Blabber over Smithy going into next year. Especially when you're looking at like skill ceilings. Like I feel like Smithy is like never going to be better than he is right now at Worlds, right? Like that is like probably the best you're going to get out of him, where I feel like Blabber has so much potential.
Yeah, but Smithy played well, didn't he?
I did not think so. A lot of people gave him like passes for games where I thought he was playing like pretty poorly. Like the Lee Sin game I thought was really poor. The Gragas game where he started like 3-0 up and then he got caught 3 times in a row versus HQ. Like I feel like his mistakes just like didn't look as bad as other people's mistakes, right? It's like you see Jensen running it down so blatantly, you're not going to realize it's like, well, the reason why they're like the reason they're in such bad situations is because like Smithy keeps on getting caught. Like I felt like Smithy played okay. I don't think he was one of the worst performers on the team. I think the worst performer on the team was definitely Jensen. I don't think that Smithy underperformed for like his skill level. I just don't see him like when you look at a player like Blabber, right? And you just see the way that he plays the early game and the way that he tries to progress the game, like with his confidence. Like he knows when he's stronger by a little bit to like go invade your golems. Like he plays well off pressure. He plays similarly to, he's like a worse version of Tarzan. That's how I see it. You know, where he understands. But it's like a player like that could evolve into Tarzan eventually. You know, like he has the right mindset towards like being aggressive. And if you just reel him back a little bit, I feel like he's going to be like the next big jungler in our region. So
I feel like Blabber's nowhere near proven enough, and he gets like select games where things are very ideal for him, and people don't have a lot of like game time on him, or people don't really even expect him. I want to see what a full split of Blabber looks like before really judging him.
Yeah, I mean, we saw almost a full split of Blabber last summer. He played almost the entire split. You know, and he was like the same type of player, but I feel like now he's even smarter than he was before. Like I felt like a lot of like his camp invades were much better. Like instead of like kind of like reckless aggression, which was kind of like, oh, I think I can kill this guy, I'm just gonna go ham, which is kind of like how he was playing previous split with Nocturne, Camille. That was like what he was playing in 2018. now he's playing like a lot of elites, and it felt like there were a lot more like. There was a lot more thought into his pathing, it felt like. Like, he would do, like, red golems, blue, and then he would know that it's like, okay, I'm going to have pressure top lane because it's Fiora versus Gangplank, and, like, enemies Elise in, so I win level 3. So now I'm going to, like, go to his golems, pressure his golems, and then double crab him off the golem pressure. Like, I felt like a lot of those plays, some junglers aren't really, or, like, people that watch the game aren't aware of, like, how impactful outplays in terms of jungle pathing are. But those are leads that are very consistent. Like, those are leads that if you understand the game like that, you'll be able to get almost every single time. So I have a lot of confidence. I think that he's definitely a top 4 jungler in NA right now. Like, from just seeing like his play in Academy was pretty dominant. His play at Worlds, he looked good, and it was pressure games too. It wasn't like they gave him like shit throwaway games. Like, he played very important games in the tournament. I think he performed well, and I think one of these teams like TSM, TL, they need to take a shot on somebody like this, because this is like a young player that has not even played as a main starter for a full season. He's already showing so much promise.
So in Asian cultures, we have this saying called "there's 2 suns in the sky and there can never be 2 suns in the sky." It means like where you have 2 people competing for the same spot, and like they're both really deserving, and like they both don't want to
Krieg and Acadian
or be. Sure, yeah.
Okay.
2 moons in the sky. Go ahead.
Yeah. So who do you want to keep? Gun to the head, you have to keep one. Who do you want to keep?
This just seems so crazy that we're dismissing MVP Svenskeren and his whole.
I think you keep
split.
Svenskeren. I think Svenskeren for a team like Cloud9 just gives you too much safety, right? It's like you always. I feel like Cloud9's the org where they don't really want to win. You know,
they
just want to be like pretty
gold
good.
efficient.
Yeah, they don't really want to win. They're not where they're going to put everything out to win. Yeah. And you can tell it just like by like how the organization picks up players, right? Like they try to go for like valuable players that they can get at a huge discount. You know, I'm sure that when they got when they got people like Svenskeren, when they got Licorice originally from United, when they got like so Svenskeren joined Cloud9 after that horrible like 2017 Worlds where he like didn't gank once in 6 games. So they probably got him low. I can't imagine Niski's value is super high when they got Niski. Like they don't actually have their org set up to win every split. You know, like they're not spending TL money to win.
And to your point, like you look at the junglers that went out, you had contracts. We picked up contracts over at Golden Guardians. Wiggly also went out to CLG. They've sold high. Smoothie also went out to Echo Fox. Like they've sold high.
Yeah, so they want to actually make money off their team. So I feel like if that's your philosophy, you just take Svenskeren, because like I feel like Cloud9 would rather have a team that's always going to be 2nd or 3rd than have a team that could be like 1st or 7th. You know, like they're not going to 100 Thieves it and like spend a bunch of fucking money and be like, all right, let's see if it either is perfect. We're a fucking best team, or we're just garbage. Feels like Cloud9 just wants to be like pretty good always.
And Jack figured out you can't make money in LCS by having like a good franchise, but you can make money in LCS by selling to all the owners.
True. It's actually true.
That's what he did.
Jensen, Impact, man. That's a lot.
So one of the arguments people always say is like, what, they tried to get caps. It's like, what do you think happened? It's like, yeah, they tried to get caps. They didn't offer him enough money, and then they didn't get caps.
You try to go to Harvard, but you didn't put in enough effort. And you're watching Twitch streams at an 11 a.m. on a Monday. Like, come on, guys. I mean, I'm sure you tried, but the same way C9 tried to get caps, they didn't really try.
And for those of you at Harvard that are watching us, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right,
let's be honest. There's no one at Harvard watching our dumbass podcast. All right, like there is 0 people at Harvard.
What can hope?
If you're actually from Harvard, tweet at us and we'll retweet you. Tweet at us from Harvard watching us, we'll actually retweet you.
Okay,
all right. Let's close out. Oh, the last thing I wanted to bring up in Group A, it's less about the gameplay, more about the drama. Griffin getting rid of Cho. Cho getting his head choked off by the heads of Griffin.
Okay, wait, let me do one thing. Holy fuck. So I did something dumb where I read the translation instead of just reading the Korean part because I trusted that the translation would be correct. So they're doing an investigation and they explicitly, they said that they're looking directly at Cho and his involvement with the drama and seeing if it's true or not. So he's on like trial. I guess that's how you can put it.
Oh, he's like under investigation?
Yeah. Like to see if what was said is true. So he's not fired yet. But there is a gun to his head.
I will say, as soon as that news came out, the team just looked so much better. I mean, it might just be complete coincidence. it might just be complete coincidence, right? Like, but there was a huge difference between like week 1 Griffin didn't look that good, right? Like they beat HKA, but they lost 3 kills at level 1, and then versus C9 they were like losing Baron and shit, and then they ended up winning versus like the Sona Tom Kench like later on in the game. But then like the G2 games that they played in the second half was like, oh no, now this is fucking Griffin. Like, well, they shit on C9, they shit on G2 twice, they shit on HKA. Like they actually just looked so incredible once that Cho drama happened. I don't know. I could be just complete coincidence, but it lined up perfectly with when the statement was released.
I was wondering if you'd be able to give us insight on that, Loco. So that is pretty cool insight there.
Dude, it's so crazy. Whenever CV Max turns on stream, he gets like 30K viewers, and then you go to his stream, and then you scroll, right? You scroll down the chat list. So almost all Korean players, they can't get their name. So you can't get Ambition, you can't get Peanut, you can't get Blink. So every single one of them has done lol_ambition, lol_peanut. If you scroll down to lol_ in the chat list, it's like 20 pro players watching the stream also.
And now a couple of dummies from Facecheck that are doing the other names as well.
I'm just like sitting there like in the chat like, can somebody please fucking translate? Like, what is going on?
Dude, shit is insane. I knew they were selling players to China because I heard about some of the prices they were selling for. So I just viewed it as, oh my god, this team raises trainees really well. I didn't know it was, they're selling players on basically like slave contracts for 5 years with minimum salary and extreme high buyouts. So I mean, that's how they're able to get. They were able to get insane money for like trainees that have never really even stepped foot on the stage. So I was so shocked. Crazy shit.
Well, we'll keep an eye on the CV Max versus Cho Griffin drama as we progress forward into the quarterfinals. And rest in peace, Cloud9. First of 3 to fall that we will cover. All right, Group B. This is probably the shortest one. Do you want to do, Loco, do you want to do the tweet now, or do you want to do
we should do the tweet now. Honestly, the games in this group were so fucking shit, and Splyce played well in week 2. That's like the only storyline. But we should just talk about the tweet for Group B. We don't have to talk about the game.
We should talk about Loco's initial prediction that he thought GAM was going to beat fucking Splyce after never watching them play one game the entire season. How insane is that? How fucking crazy.
Okay. I'll give my rationale for it. Splyce lost to DFM, a Japanese team in play-ins, and they looked terrible. And then they went 3-2 versus Unicorns of Love, and their week 1 games were also really bad. So I didn't.
Their week 1 games weren't that bad.
It was pretty bad.
It wasn't great. Norris Garen looked like he didn't know how to play League of Legends.
Yeah, like, but that's why I thought that Splyce was going to be okay, because it's like, all right, how could you possibly be a pro player and int that hard another week in a row? Like, how could he just int that hard again? Like, at some point, it's just like he has to realize, hey, I just got to do nothing and we'll win. Like, as long as I just don't int, we win. So they just gave him Thresh, and he didn't hit one hook the entire game. He literally played Thresh, backline, just throwing lanterns to people, just like, all right, dude, like, are you in? Okay, you're out. Then you throw the hook. Everyone would sidestep it because it was a terrible hook, and then they would just back off. It looked so like, it was like, okay, this guy knows his place now on the team. Like, he is just trying to not ruin the game for the rest of them.
Yeah, but they just looked so bad. I felt confident enough, and yes, I made the bet. Get the tweets out, dude. Right. Oh my! I cannot like understand Splyce coaching staff, because the biggest problem they have is like, oh, we're getting a disproportionate amount of hate. Like, why do people not like us? Like, why do we get so much criticism? And all they do is start fights with analysts online. Like, all they do is act snarky, and they're like, oh, why do people hate us? Oh, it's because we're unpopular. It's because we don't have fans. Why people hate us? Like, it's such an insecure way to be. Like, people go at you because your gameplay is bad, and when you get goat at because your gameplay is bad, and you're like, oh, you're doing this because Splyce has no fans, like, then people are just going to hate you more.
Yeah. Right. I don't think that they're necessarily, like, bad. I just think that, like, yeah, I mean, maybe they're at this tournament, maybe they're like the 11th best team. Maybe they're the 10th best team, something like around there. It's just they got a disproportionately easy group compared to like what everyone else got. And like all the other Western teams were in like much harder situations, which is why there was no other, like they got out second the same place as Fnatic got out, the same place as G2 got out. Did you watch what G2 and Fnatic did to Splyce, like when they played each other? Did you see the last game of regional qualifier where Splyce played Fnatic? It was just like the most brutal 3-0. Like Nemesis was like 11-0 in games with Casio. It was like, okay, just fuck. It was like a 2-hour long series. Like, get this fucking off my screen. Like, all right, let's just go to Worlds. Like, they're probably not going to even make it out of planes. That's how people felt. And then they just ended up, like, lucking out a good bracket. Like, I don't think that just because they made it out of that group, that suddenly means that oh, well, J-Team was actually really good, or GAM was really good, which is what Peter Dunn said in his tweet. Like, it was...
Yeah, no, the thing is, if you talk to them about your group being easy, they're like, no, you don't watch LMS. J-Team and GAM are secretly really good teams. Like, stop disrespecting us. We want it to be in Group D, not Group B. I wonder what's harder. Like, my god!
I wonder if they're that delusional that they unironically think that J Team and GAM are better than teams like DAMWON and fucking IG. I wonder if they actually believe that.
No, they'll give you the bullshit about stylistically we match up better versus teams in Group D and Group B. So being in Group B was technically harder for us.
You stylistically match up well with Humanoid into Rookie and ShowMaker? That is a stylistic match that you want? It's like, yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine in those. Like, Rookie will fucking take it up your ass if you play against that guy. Like, you do not want Humanoid versus either of those guys. They're gonna get fucked, like 100%.
But we had a rookie team and we made it out of groups, and we don't get the credit that we deserve.
No, I think that they deserve credit. Like for like they maxed out, right? For what the Splyce team has, they deserve, like, the best they could have done is get an easy group, make it out of groups to quarterfinals, and then just get shit on 3-0 by SKT. Like, that's the best that they could have gone. Like, maybe they get one game and they do some weird cheese and SKT just collapses, but there's no way that they win that series. There's actually 0% chance to win that series, right?
I don't think they have a shot at winning the series at all. It's just so fucking stupid. If you're worried about what people are saying to you and you don't want it to get worse, stop making bullshit excuses to defend yourself. And I promise you, it'll get much better.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that, like, Splyce was terrible. I predicted them to get out of Group B. It's just like, they're not going to win anything. Like, this is not a notable team. The other two European teams could actually, like, make a run. You know, like, I can see a world where Fnatic starts playing really well. They win versus FPX. They're confident. Then they play against Griffin. They beat Griffin. They make it to finals. I can see that world. I can see a world where G2 makes it to finals. They just are this monster team. They end up just beating all the Koreans, and it's like, holy shit, this team's going to win the whole tournament. I can see that potentially happening. Mm-hmm. I can't see Splyce make it out of quarters in any way.
Oh, God. I can't even with this team. One of their, like, what is it? Viewpoint is NA wants to shit on Europe. And because NA analysts cannot shit on G2 or Fnatic, by the way, which we did, we criticized the hell out of G2. We criticized the hell out of Fnatic. We go out of our way to shit on Splyce because we have this, like, EU hate that we need to get out. And Splyce is the most vulnerable team. Like, holy fucking shit.
It just doesn't make sense if you, like, listen to anything that I've said personally. Like, if you look at my predictions, I actually thought that Europe would do better than they did. I predicted Europe to get out first in Group A and then second in Group B and Group C. Like, those are my predictions going into the tournament. Like, I went on Summoning Insight with you and, like, put those out there. So it's like, how could I be biased against EU when I thought that EU would do better than they even did, and they did well to begin with? Like, it's just, I thought they were going to do super well. So
I had Perks #1 on my top 20. I had Fnatic G2 making out of groups. Like, we don't have a bias against you. People don't have this secret bias against Europe, and they want to shit on you, Splyce. Like, you guys were bad in your games. You made bullshit excuses, so people criticize you for that. Oh.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just can't see them winning. Like, how can they beat a team like SKT? Like, Chachi is good. Chachi's played really well.
He did. Chachi played insane.
I was so proud of Chachi for, like, how he has played. I've always been a Chachi fan. Ever since fucking Unicorns of Love, I just love the way that guy plays. But I loved, like, how fucking tilt-proof that man was. He's literally, like, Xerxes just plays a terrible Kiana game, just gets, like, completely outpassed. Like, Levi is just up, like, 3 kills on him, 2 levels, just shitting on him. Gets dove, like, 10 fucking times, and he's still just playing the game as smart as possible. That man's mind is unbreakable, I swear to God.
All right, here we go, just to finish up the tweets, because it was nuts. Like, this whole thread. Stress, former EU LCS caster before they rebranded to LEC, also got into the fun as well. Just realized that if MSI happened tomorrow, that the other 3 teams in Group B would all have been in the final 6 group. That means Splyce on current form are good enough to top 4 MSI.
Oh my gosh, shut the fuck up.
And then Stress goes.
Wait, explain this again. What is this logic? Wait, I literally don't understand it. Can you explain it one more time? Like, why is Splyce the top 6 team in the world?
I'm trying to understand this, but again, right?
What did they say? Let's just slow it down for me.
Just realized via Jensen Go, Jupiter Storm, friend of Locos, that if MSI happened tomorrow, the other 3 teams in Group B would all have been in the final 6 group. That means Splyce on current form are good enough to top 4 MSI, and yet no one plays down making it out of MSI groups in 4th. I don't fully understand it.
Okay, so what he's saying is that their 3rd European team is better than an LMS and a fucking Vietnam team. Congratulations, dude. What does that fucking mean? Like, what is that? That's the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Rogue could make it out and beat those teams. Like, J-Team and GAM are not these world beater teams, dude. Fucking LMS is like merging with the 2nd China League next year. Like, these are they're better than wildcard regions. What? Who cares? What does that even prove? Like, what does that fucking prove? Like, honestly, dude, Clutch might be able to fucking do that, and we saw how bad they are. Like, this is just not a statement that matters at all.
Then I'm tired of NA fans attacking Splyce for getting a supposedly easy group despite never watching LMS to judge J-Team, and forgetting that NA's record after MSI groups historically is TSM got 5th, CLG got 2nd, TSM got 5th, TL got 5th, and then TL got 4th.
You mean when LMS was actually really fucking good and Flashpool carried the shit out of the region?
Yeah, and then the players ended up breaking off and just going to and they ended up getting bought to LPL teams. So now you have Karsa on RNG jungling for Uzi. It's like, yeah, those were the best. Like, LMS was always kind of a 1-team region. You know, that's how it always felt. Like, there was always HQ there with like Westor and thing, but it never felt like they were actually the team. It was always like Flash Wolves region, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's all about Sword Art, and when they had Betty, and then they had Maple and fucking and Karsa, and as soon as that team broke up and they all started going to China, the region just died. Mm. That's it.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, I just don't understand why, like, I just don't understand why they can't admit that Group B was the easiest group. Like, I just don't. So to say that it's not the easiest group, right? Because essentially, you have to look at Pool 2, right? Pool 2 is where you decide whether the group is going to be easy or hard, because you have the biggest amount of skill difference between the best team in Pool 2 and the worst team in Pool 2. So the worst teams in Pool 2 are
Vietnam,
the 2nd seed Taiwanese team, right? The 1st seed Vietnam team, the 1st seed Taiwanese team. Like, those are the bottom teams of Pool 2, and probably if you want to throw Cloud9 in there, then they're probably at the bottom too. And then you look at like the other teams that are in Pool 2. IG, right? Griffin, Fnatic, RNG. Like, which of these teams are J-Team GAM better than? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, it just doesn't make any sense when you actually think about it. Like, they got the best draw out of all the Pool 2 teams. You get 1 Pool 1 team, 2 Pool 2 teams, and then a Pool 3 team.
I mean, I'm done with this group, and I'm done with Splyce in general. Let's move on.
I mean, and also just if you look at Taiwan, right? Taiwan had their teams were in the 3 easiest groups. The hardest group was Group C at Worlds, right? Going into it, Group A, Group B, and Group D were the easiest groups. And then you look at the Taiwanese placements; they went 3-15. The only 3 games came in that easy group versus actual teams. Like, their 2nd Taiwanese team gets 2-0'd by TL. Their 3rd Taiwanese team gets 2-0'd by C9, like, and everyone else, and G2, and Griffin, and DAMWON, and like, they can't even win a game versus any of the other major regions. Like, why is Taiwan suddenly good? I don't get why it's like J-Team is suddenly getting praise. It's like FPX looked bad in that group too. Like, it wasn't like that whole group was like, oh, really competitive. It was like, oh shit, they're all around the same skill level. It's like, damn, what the fuck is FPX doing? I guess they still win because they're playing against a Taiwanese and a Vietnam team. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Like, really, it doesn't make sense at all.
Well, ladies and gents, that's just one tweet of the week. We got a ton of you. A ton of them still left, so we could fire everybody up. Anything you want to add to the group themselves, not just Splyce, FPX, and I guess them moving forward?
Okay, speaking a little bit about FPX, I like them when they have good mid champions that they actually play. They're a team so focused on team fighting. Doinb said I think we're the best team fighting team. I think we have the best synergy. I think we have the best coordination. We're really confident when we get into team fight, and it shows in their draft. They will draft comps that just does not function outside of a team fight. If it gets to a team fight phase in a pretty even manner, then that comp is OP, but that's not how the game works. Like, you don't start at a team fight phase. So when they have champions like Ryze or Renekton and really bridges their early game and they're able to play 2v2 mid and start diving bottom, their team looks so much better. But teams have been recognizing that and taking those tools away. So I'm curious what they do versus Fnatic later.
They look really one-dimensional. Like, a bunch of the people that you thought were good going into this tournament, where you'd be like, oh, Crisp is pretty good. LWX is supposed to be really good, right? He has 12-0 in Kai'Sa and LPL. Like, people throw these stats at you. Gimgoon, one of the best top laners in the world. It really just looks like it's DoNB trying to 1v9 every single game. Like, from this world stage, it's like TN tries to play around DoNB. Once, if DoNB's ahead enough, he'll carry the game. If not, they end up like, they can't rely on Gimgoon. Gimgoon played grass GP into Cho'Gath and was like down 30 CS in lane with minimal jungle pressure. You know, like these I was not impressed by anyone on FPX besides for DoNB.
Yeah, I remember one of you guys talking about the combo DoNB Tien compared to, I think we compared it to, was it Faker Clid?
I think it was I think we compared it to Humanoid and Xerxes because they were in the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think it was within the group. I thought it was like an overall, when we're talking like top teams coming into Worlds. Like, we talked about them. The point was less about, hey, who said that? More about, we talked about them being one of the best mid jungle duos in Worlds, and just even then, Tien not quite the case, and everything else was less than advertised other than DoNB. So, anything else? Closing up. That was a short Group B. That was a lot of Peter Dunn free advertisement.
Daily reminder: Dom never went to Worlds while playing in a shit region. Well, I guess I didn't go to Worlds.
What happened in season 2?
I guess I just wasn't there, dude. I don't know. I literally don't even know how to respond to the comments like that.
Well, I guess
it's so weird.
We'll wait for that reminder tomorrow.
All right. Daily reminder. All right.
Daily reminder: if you keep saying things enough, you can change history.
Yeah, I guess it happens.
Oh God, I still have this tweet thread open. Just reading it just is tilting. All right, let's move on to the big one. Good luck, Fun Plus, and Splyce. Let's move on to the big one. Here it is: SKT, Fnatic getting through Group C. Clutch going 0-6, and that's what EU fans are holding on to. An NA team not winning any games, and obviously RNG 3-3. We wanted this. This was the nuclear option to get ourselves a brand new world system. And out of all of the teams, right? We have three teams representing the 3 regions that made it to the quarterfinals. Raise your hand if you thought RNG was going to be the one out of those 9 teams that weren't going to make it into the 8 slots. I mean, given the fact that it is this group, everyone would have thought it was Splyce. RNG don't make it through. It was an epic final match between Fnatic and RNG.
Was it epic? They got shit on so hard.
It was an epic setup. And then they got dumpstered. Right. But yeah, in the end, tears, crying reckless. This time it's tears of joy. And Fnatic squeak on through, SKT going up on top.
Honestly, I was waiting for him to break down and start crying during the group draw, or the quarterfinal draw. Like, I was like, oh shit, dude, what's gonna happen? I thought he was gonna like draw like FPX and just break down right there. Like, I don't know, man. It just seems like every single time, like he's cried twice this season already, right? Like, we're not even he hasn't even got eliminated from Worlds yet. He cried at the end of summer. He cried like at the end of group stage. It's like I don't know, man. It's just gonna be every single stage. What was if he cries in between every single game of FPX? Just game 1 they lose and he's just bawling for the next 2 games. Holy shit!
It takes a strong man to cry on stage, Dom. I don't think you appreciate it.
I just don't understand. Like, I just don't understand. Like, it's just I don't know.
It's so funny because I used to like Reckless and I used to be pretty okay friends with him, especially when there was a lot of international events like IEM. And then he went completely dark on social media. He stopped like responding to everyone, and then he started doing just interviews with Travis. And then I started working with you. I started working with Storin, and then you guys both hate the hell out of Reckless. So my image
No,
on
I don't hate Reckless. I don't know, man. It just feels like I really respect somebody like Uzi for just like not trying to make a scene of it, you know, all the time. Like he's really upset, right? He got off the stage. You could see he just got off the stage like he knew he was gonna cry. Got off the stage immediately, went back and cried. Like he doesn't need to show his emotion to the world to like prove something, which I feel like that has always been my criticism of Reckless. It's just ever since the quarterfinals in 2017, where he sat on stage and there was not actually even tears coming out of his eyes. He just held his head in his hands for like 15 minutes. And that was like when I came out with the first Cut the Western Shit video. That's what prompted me to do the series, was that moment, because I just thought it was like really, it was really contrived. I just feel like in general, it just seems like he just wants people to see him cry to show how much he cares. That's how I view it at this point.
I will say though, I think overcome with emotion. They set up he overcame his demons, right? And was finally able. They showed the record too, 1-9 against RNG career for Reckless, and so
I'm sure there's people in China with much worse records versus RNG.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like to me it's more of a. It's the thing is, it's like the boy that cried wolf, right? You do it over and over again, and then it's just hard to tell like how sincere it is by the end. You know, it's like, okay, because he cried like he stayed on stage like crying for longer in 2017. Was that like just as serious as this? Like I don't know. Like it felt like this time it was genuine. From my perspective, this time it felt genuine, but it feels like it's happened so much that like it's became like a meme within the community.
Okay, there's actually a lot of records that were broken for this group. It's the first Western team to ever go 0-6 in a group ever since we've had this format. There hasn't been a Western team that went 0-6 in a group once we switched to this format, and this is the first time RNG has never made it out.
Way to go, Clutch.
I
know you're watching, Clutch. Way to go, Clutch. It's just one person. I mean, that's a tough group. They got a tough group, and they put up some really big fights. Dominated touched the fact like they innovated, or they tried to innovate.
Wait, no. The thing about them going 0-6, what I think is really bad is how Fnatic played in the first half and how well the Clutch matched up to Fnatic when they were playing in their first game. Clutch 100% should have won that game.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Fnatic's first 4 games looked really bad, right? They're even the first one they got versus Clutch, the second one they got versus Clutch, and then like the first RNG and SKT games, they looked really bad in those. So it was really nice to see that the team was like mentally strong enough to come back from that. I feel like just in general, you got to give credit to Nemesis. I thought Nemesis was like the most consistent player on that team throughout the whole group stage. I feel like he's the one that really is the backbone of Fnatic at this point. And a lot of people don't view him like that because he's the newest player, and you know the team had so much success without him, and he's replacing Caps. But like, this man is literally doing so well almost every single game. Like, he's doing solo kill versus Faker. I know it was a turret dive from the call, but still he's getting a solo kill in that game. He played the first dive where they tried to 4-man him really well. Early flash, cages them. I don't know. I just felt like Nemesis is just a beast, and no one like gives him the fucking credit he deserves for some reason. Maybe it's because he's quiet. Maybe because he's not as big of a star as everyone else. But without Nemesis, they don't make it out of this group. No one else is playing consistently enough to make it out of this group. If he had bad games too.
And then the other things that clicked for Fnatic was like Bwipo playing Gangplank. I don't know why, but every single time someone picked a range champion into him, Gnar or Vladimir, they traded with him level 1, where he's able to get Q off, the Gangplank fire passive off with the melee auto hit and the grass, and then he also is faster from drinking Corrupting Pot early. Like Bwipo got that trade every single time at level 1, and he's able to win lane. I have no idea why Khan took that trade. Khan took that trade, and then he needed Klid to hold his hand the entire fucking laning phase.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really fucking weird game, especially just. I think that they were just thrown off super hard by the Vygar pick. They just didn't know how to handle it, and they tried that mid dive, and then after like they got a little bit behind, they're like, "Wait a second, we have a Kali, Lee Sin, Kai'Sa. How do we ever fight versus Vygar cage? Like, what do we even do?" So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they are they're just SKT is a team where as long as Khan doesn't hard in, I feel like the team does well. But that early lane phase was so bad, especially considering that you're getting the Vlad into GP. Like, that's a lane that you want. I'm just so tired. I don't remember if that was a game where he took Klepto. I'm just so tired of seeing all these fucking Klepto Vladimirs. It just seems so bad. And people take it into GP and like all this shit. I just want to see more phase rush Vladimir where they just play the game to like actually win the lane.
I mean, they see Noguri do it and they're like, holy shit, I'm as good as him. I'm a pro player. I can do this shit.
I mean, I liked how the Shy played Vladimir way more. He played 2 games of Vlad with phase rush and it looked significantly better than Klepto.
Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely the Shy is the better Vlad player, but Noguri is like more stylish and he was so hyped up during play-in in the early part of groups. Everyone wanted to jump on that train.
Is he even stylish? Like, I really was not that hyped to see Noguri. Like, I didn't think Noguri was like the main character. The person that was the most surprised at with DAMWON was Canyon.
Huh? Not ShowMaker.
Yeah, I thought Canyon played a really fucking good group stage. I think he won jungle in almost every single game. There was almost no game where I felt like Canyon was behind the pace of the game. I felt like he was always able to like just snowball the game throughout the entire thing.
We can touch more on that when we talk about that group. Dude, I want to talk about RNG. They keep doing this thing where they play overly to Uzi. It shows in their playstyle and it shows in a lot of things. So, I mean, we can first talk about pick and ban, or not pick and ban. We can talk about what they did with jungle pathing. Karsa saw that enemy team placed a ward level 1 to spot for the level 2 Jarvan gank, and he still went for the level 2 Jarvan gank through lane. There was just no way they were going to get that gank. It was, I think, Galio Ezreal versus Kai'Sa Leona. I forget the exact champions, but
I think it might have been Alistar. Is that a thing?
It just was not gankable, and one of the sides were warded, and he had to go through lane, and he still did it. And Uzi plays to vacuum CS. I was wondering how he gets 12 CS per minute. It's almost not possible as AD carry, but he'll do dumb shit to make sure he can get 12 CS per minute. So when his team has Baron and they're seizing mid lane and they have the cannon minion up, he'll literally lead cannon minion and not shoot Qs and go kill wolves instead of seizing with Baron on an Ezreal. Like, this guy will make suboptimal decisions over and over again just to make sure he's getting up in farm. Like, in team fights, he's hitting wars, like he's hitting cannon minion. Like, he prioritizes farm so highly where it actively hurts his team.
The whole team prioritizes him. Like, I think one of the things that I feel like the reason why Karsa is the jungler for RNG, just from watching the games, is like he's the only jungler that is really willing to predict like bot lane action and just sit in the bush and just wait for it to happen. Like, he literally will just sit behind Uzi or sit on a pink ward in the river and just wait for them to gank Uzi and then just be there to turn it every single time. So I feel like that's why Karsa always gets behind in CS. Is like he spends so much time, like so much attention towards just not letting Uzi die. And I just feel like the whole team just plays around that win condition. It's why like Morg is such a high priority for them as a team, is because like they just want Uzi to be able to carry the whole game 1v9.
If you're going to do that, you shouldn't play Ezreal. The whole point of Ezreal is you hit your 2-item power spike extremely quickly, and you're stronger than everyone on the map before the other AD carry gets 3-item power spike. So you do things on the map before that happens. Uzi gets the 2-item power spike, and all he does is farm. He doesn't play proactively. He isn't looking to hit Qs. He isn't looking for team fights. He's just trying to get to the next item. If you're playing that way, don't play Ezreal. And they played Ezreal 3 games in a row. It's just so frustrating to watch because they have good players across the board. I think Karsa's good. I think Xiaohu's good. I think Lang X is good. I think Ming's also amazing. But they just focus so much on one player. Like, where Uzi is insanely good, but if you play to a player that much, then you hamper the rest of your team.
Yeah, I thought Xiaohu did not have a great Worlds. Like, overall, like he didn't really impress me as far as the games went. It just feels like he was just kind of like a whatever mid laner. Like, I never felt like he was carrying the game, or like people will say it's because they're playing to Uzi, but I feel like if you look at somebody like DAMWON play mid, right? Like he's so willing to like go in the side lane and pressure in the split push, and then like when he's playing Ryze, he's ready to push as far as he can and then Ryze ult out of any like danger. But it feels like Jahu's just such a safe player. Like, he doesn't take any of those like really aggressive like options throughout the game.
Wait, what? I mean, he's the one that was chasing Tanner all the way into his jungle.
Yeah, that's like one play at level 3, and that to me is like a terrible play. You know, like as soon as the Sidra flashes, like him flashing after him with Kale, like that's one play throughout the game. Like, I don't really care about that. I feel like that's just kind of like a stupid play, and then it's more like him just trying to do safe options throughout the game. Like he doesn't know like the fine line. When you watch the best Rise players play, and like he played Rise in the final game, that's why I'm mentioning it. Like when you watch people like Caps, people like DoNB, people like even Faker and Nemesis play Rise, they play to push as far as they can in the side lane, look for like turret dives, things like that, and then they're ready to like ult out. They want to draw pressure, ult out, and then join like the rest of their team. But it feels like he just never does that. Like Jahu just kind of just sits there and waits for action, and then it's like, okay, they tried to kill Uzi, we black shielded him, now the team's coming, and then he just like TPs and has that fight where it's just like, okay, you're just a supportive mid laner at that point. You're not really a carry mid laner.
I do think like he does look for play in the Zoe game too. He was looking for a play on Faker. He almost got the kill on Faker. Like he does look for it,
and then he kills himself. So every time he looks for a play, it turns out terrible. And then in the games that matter, because so that's why that's what I'm saying. It's like he looks for those plays, and then he fails consistently. And because he fails so much, it starts becoming like, all right, well, just don't try to make any plays. And then he's just kind of there for the rest of the group stage.
Yikes, that's so bad for a mid laner. Mid laner is one of the strongest tools the team has right now to like open up the game and get shit done. If a mid lane plays like that, then yeah, you really don't match up well versus other people.
Agreed.
What else in this group?
I don't really want to talk about Clutch.
I think we have to. We have to talk about
they're
Clutch.
so outmatched. Like it just went exactly how you thought it would go, right? Like when you go into this group, they're like, we're like, even being optimistic, it's like maybe they play spoiler and win one game randomly, and you know they I think they played just as well as they can. You know, like they played the best they could. I thought Faker played. Or sorry, I thought Lyra played much. I think Lyra played much better. Into like
he played really well.
Competition. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know about really well. Like his Lee Sin game was like still suspect, but like. Before he was pretty much a Skarner, one trick in an A, and like he at least had like some decent Elise games. He was playing okay. So Lyra overperformed. I thought that bot lane underperformed for Clutch. It felt like they were never able to really get leads bot lane. Like Vulcan entered a lot of times in lane, like he would just kill himself in lane, and it never felt like Cody was actually able to like snowball leads. Also, he ended up playing like I think a couple games of Heimerdinger towards the end, so he wasn't even playing 80 carries, but yeah, I just didn't feel like their ball lane showed up as well as you'd expect.
Yeah, and to me, it felt like it was more Vulcan kind of making a lot of those mistakes, so Cody just wasn't quite enabled to do that. And that was... by
Garen as Bard.
Yeah, exactly. People, I don't understand why people are like, oh, he got solo killed once in like hard match. Well, he lost the Rakan matchup. The Rakan into Morg matchup, I think twice, potentially, maybe just once. He got solo killed in the first game. They got binded under turret and solo killed in like the fucking second game that they played versus RNG. And then he played Bard Lucian into Yuumi Garen and got solo killed in that lane. Like you're getting solo killed by a Yuumi Garen lane. Like that's okay. So that means half of your games at least. I don't even remember if he had any lane deaths in the other games, but at least half of the games he got killed in lane, solo killed in lane. That's pretty bad.
And this goes back to the point that Dom was saying earlier, like Cody coming in, we're talking about form, coming into Worlds was one of the best AD carries coming in, and he just felt like, again, felt like we never got to unlock and see if Cody would be able to reach that form again, battle his demons, you know, in a tough situation because Vulcan didn't play well. And we have two of the biggest Vulcan,
They got bad matchups
here.
Too.
Yeah,
they got bad matchups too. Like they would draft like Rakan, and then you draft Rakan into RNG, and you leave up Morgana. Then you're playing against Morgana Ezreal, and it's just like, okay, how do you play Kai'Sa Rakan into Morgana Ezreal? Like they're literally just under a turret, just getting fucked the entire time. And as long as Uzi and Ming don't die to ganks, like you're just never going to be able to win that 2v2. And it also feels like Ming's Morgana is probably his best support. So
yeah. Also, the thing is, whenever they played Xayah Rakan, one of their most common bans is Morg. I know they didn't play Xayah Rakan, but they banned Lee and Camille. They banned Renekton, Lee, Camille. They had so many things that they needed to ban, so they couldn't do their usual ban, which is we ban Morgana on blue side because we like taking Rakan. And then we also do the same thing on red side because we like taking Xayah Rakan on our 1 and 2. So yeah, they got thrown out of like what they normally do well. And as you said, one of Ming's best champion is Morg. And you're literally playing it where you don't have a lot of experience into it. So they're just constantly pushed into bad situations. One, because they're limited in pick and ban. Two, also it's Worlds, so they're playing versus way better players.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, AD versus AD, if your support is inting in lane, AD versus AD, if you're playing into Uzi, and you're any AD carry and your support is worse than his support, you're just going to be like down 20-30 CS. There's almost like nothing you can do. So it's really up to like, I mean, versus every team versus RNG, the only way that people actually out CS Uzi ever, which I don't even know if anyone did out CS Uzi, but the only way that they get advantages in bot lane is you just have to gank it over and over again. You have to just keep on ganking Uzi and Ming and force them to like use spells, or they're just going to fucking roll you in lane.
Yeah. And again, right, only reason why I'm going hard on Vulcan is because we had him pretty high up on this roster as one of those beacons of hope. And again, very young, first Worlds experience, a lot to take away from it. It's just there was a lot of downfall on his plate. And that affects one of the better players on this roster as well, and Cody. DAMWON, how did Tanner Time go in your guys' eyes? Just because it's Tanner Time, got to talk about him.
I mean, he plays confidently, and Tanner tries to get stuff done. I just don't think he matches up to people.
Yeah, he's not good enough
group
yet,
is pretty sick.
I personally like that type of stuff. Like, I like seeing that DAMWON has confidence on stage and that he's able to like play the best he can, right? Like, I feel like that's the best that DAMWON can play. He's not at the level where he's gonna like shit on somebody like Faker or anything yet, but I like that he played up to his own skill level, which isn't good enough, right? Like, it's still worse than every other mid in this group, but that's just the reality of the situation. Is he's like, this is his first season. Like, he's a rookie NA mid laner. Hasn't played on a stage like this before. He's not like a super well-rounded player yet. I think that for him, like you at least like to see that he's not a choker. He doesn't underperform when it matters. Just he needs to like spend time improving, like honing his craft, and just get better for next year.
I mean, I'll give him credit. He did better than I thought he would, but it's still nowhere near good enough.
Yeah.
For this group, sure.
Put him in Group B, then see what happens. We could have swapped.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could potentially be better than somebody like Fofo.
Clutch make it out of Group B.
I didn't think Fofo was very impressive. People are hyping up J Team. Like, Splyce is like, oh, look at how strong J Team is. Like, dude, Fofo got solo killed as Lucian versus Kled in lane to Vietnam mid laner. Like, I don't know, man. I am not that hyped on the mid laners in Group B.
Just a lot more interesting things to talk about. Anything else you guys want to touch on this group? I guess Reckless finally played 80 carries again.
I guess
that was a big improvement.
I guess the one thing that we should talk about is, does this like change the format going forward?
Yeah. Because that's what we said. For those that didn't see it before, we said if RNG doesn't get out of groups, we kind of feel like the pressure from the powers that be would force a change on how pools work, and you don't get like 3 super stacked teams like this. I think the best case scenario would have been Fnatic not going through, and it would have been RNG, right, guys? But RNG, SKT moving through, and Fnatic would just have another year of sad Reckless, not happy Reckless, happy tears Reckless. But instead, it's RNG that drop, and that's China's maybe not best team, but like one of the most popular teams holding one of the most popular players in the world not making it through.
I mean, China is majority of the player base, the majority of the viewer base, the viewing hours, or the times where the games are held, the times when the Chinese teams play, or catered towards China. And that's where Riot makes majority of its money, and that's where Riot is owned. So I think RNG not making out of groups is like the biggest catalyst we can have in terms of like the groups changing and Riot realizing there's something wrong with the format and getting the biggest amount of complaints.
Who's the most popular player in the world? Is it actually Faker or is it Uzi? That's the question.
Probably Uzi.
That's what I think too. I think in China, like obviously you can never really know because they don't release numbers, but China has so many more fans. Like I think that Uzi is potentially the most popular player in the world. Like 85 to 90% of the people that watch and play this game are in China. So it's like, I don't know, like obviously he's not as good as Faker or anything, but him dropping this early can't be good for viewership. It cannot be good for viewership. And like there's so many formats they could do where they don't necessarily have to play a lot more games. It just like they just have to decide on something that allows for like, because it seems like right now, right? Most of these teams are making it and not making it off one game, right? Like RNG, if they win the last game versus Fnatic, they make it and Fnatic does it, right? TL, if they win the last game versus IG, they make it and IG does it. G2, if they win the last game, like they are number 1 seed instead of number 2 seed. It feels like you get all these situations where it's just one game away from like a massively different result. a lot of these teams are closer matched than you think, and having like more teams go through to the bracket stage, doing something where you have two big groups, and instead of having each team play each other, so instead of having 6 games, you have each group play 7 games, so it's 8 teams per group, 2 groups only, and then you have the 5th and 6th teams from each group go into the 6 teams from each group will go into a losers bracket, and then you have like a top tier, top 8 have like an advantage in the TI, winners, right? Versus losers. So it's literally the same type of thing as TI, but you just do it with less games. And still, even if you do it with less games, the teams are still playing more games than they're playing now, right? Like even if each team only plays each other once, like it's one round robin, each team plays each other once in their own group, you're still getting 7 games instead of 6 per team. So I feel like that type of format will just allow for a more competitive and more interesting tournament. Like I'm sure that RNG could potentially beat teams like Splyce, right? So if you have a losers bracket, maybe Splyce has a game advantage in a best of 5 versus RNG because they ended up going straight through to quarterfinals. They get seeded into the winners bracket, something like that. I still feel like having these teams like show their true strength will make for a more interesting world championship.
Yeah, and argument's always going to be, well, half of those games for TI are played like in a hotel room. Like, they play it off stage there. Riot wants that spectacle, but I do like the idea.
If you want to be an industry leader, then just have industry leader standards.
Well, you don't have
industry leader money.
I mean, it's also that they play way more games, like in TI. So TI, I think every single one they play 2 games, right? So everyone plays each other in their group for 2 games instead of just 1. So they're playing 14 games in their group stage as opposed to just 7, right? So in my format, it's like each team just plays each other once. So you get 1 more game per team. So you get it like whatever, you get like 1 more game per team. That's the huge issue with this new format that I'm proposing. But I feel like it just creates so much better storylines. Like having all these teams like go through, you just end up with really lopsided quarterfinals matches. Like either that has to happen, or they have to start like breaking it up into more pools, because there's pool 2 is way too big. This 3-pool format where you have like you have teams that are pool 3 that are definitely better than teams in pool 2. For sure. Right? Mm-hmm. Consistently. Like DAMWON. If you think DAMWON is worse than J-Team, AHQ, GAM, like if you think DAMWON's worse than them, I don't even know what to tell you. Then we can't even argue this. But if you look at like the overall team list, like there needs to be something that brings some consistency to like how the groups are made. And the way that you do that is you have like more groups. Maybe you have 4 pools instead of 3, and you start dividing it up more by like which regions are historically strong. So you look at this world championship, it's like, damn, China and Korea and Europe like look like the strongest groups. Maybe you have more teams of them in like, so you don't have like the 3rd seed Korean team, you don't have them in pool 3, you have them in pool 2, and then you drop like LMS 2nd seed from pool 2 to pool 3. I feel like those things will make the tournament so much better than just like having these like seemingly arbitrary groups.
I think one thing that Reddit comment said is if you get first in the group, you make it to quarters. If you get second, you're 2nd seed, and then if you get third, you're 3rd seed. And then there's like a mini tournament between the 2 and the 3 seeds, and then whoever wins that goes forward. So
that's kind of like how season 2 was, where the first teams like get like a bye through groups. The first team in each region, let's like TSM got a bye, Moscow 5 got a bye from Europe. Yeah,
but no, every team would play within the group itself. Like, so we would still do like this kind of group. But for example, for group C, right? SKT gets first, so they go to quarters. Fnatic is seed 2 and Royal is seed 3. So Fnatic would play another seed 3. Or Fnatic would play a seed 3. So Fnatic would play like a team like TL, and Royal would play IG. And the winner of Royal of IG would get a quarter seed, and the winner of Fnatic TL would get a quarter seed.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it with less games. I would still rather have the top 8 seeded into like a winner's bracket and then have a loser's bracket. Like I would prefer that type of format because then it'll be more accurate. Because the problem with that is like you're going to have pooled like teams from like the second teams that end up 2nd seed in their group versus teams that are 3rd. Like there could be like big skill differences, like you can have like Splyce being a 2nd seed team that has to play against RNG, which is a 3rd seed team, when like if you look really at the games, it doesn't look like Splyce is a better team than RNG from like the eye test. So I think that would be better than what we have right now. It's just there needs to be like, if the groups are going to be this arbitrary, there needs to be like less strict eliminations. It shouldn't just be 2 teams getting eliminated out of every group, because you can lose some really, really strong teams early on in the tournament.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's an argument against it in the form of, sorry, European fans, college basketball. We have a thing called March Madness, where they take the top now 68 teams, and you just play one-offs. And sometimes you have like these crazy upsets, and that's kind of what you want. You want that variance, and we've talked about it before. And the argument against expanding is always the same. There's always going to be that one team on the edge that doesn't get into the tournament. In this case, there's always going to be, whether it's we have 9 great teams from the 3 regions and one team doesn't make it in, it's going to be an RNG. Or if it's 10 teams, we have 11 great teams, or whatever that cutoff is, maybe we won't feel as bad about it, because RNG is so much better than who's the 11th best team. If it was Splyce that gets cut out because they were 11th and not 10th, we wouldn't feel as bad. But everyone always says, it's just that argument, and then you're throwing in the cost of one more game each and how much longer it's going to
I feel like that's why you only eliminate, like, you have this group stage, but you only eliminate one team from each group. I would be fine with the bottom team from each group being eliminated. I don't think anyone cares about that, right? Like, if going into the bracket stage, we had GAM eliminated, HQ, HK, and Clutch eliminated, I feel like that's pretty representative of what the top 12 teams are. Like, maybe there's a chance that a team like J Team is worse than one of the 4th seeds. Like, maybe like in some world, J Team is worse than Clutch. Who the fuck knows? Probably not. But I feel like if you're only eliminating one team from each group, the team that gets dead last, right? Like, most of these teams are going 0-6 to get dead last, right? I think GAM went 1-5 maybe, but Clutch went 0-6, HK went 0-6, HQ went 0-6. It's like these teams are like the ones that are strictly inferior to the other teams in the tournament. You have 12 teams go out, and then like from there you have them battle it out, and then it's like all the elimination matches for the teams that actually should matter in the tournament are done like in a best of 5 or best of 3, something like that.
All right, well, I guess time will tell.
If they don't change it now with RNG going out, if they don't change it for next year, they will never ever change it. It'll stay this way for a while. This is like the biggest like uproar that the biggest fan base and the biggest community can have. If this isn't what it takes, then there is nothing else.
I think if I'm right, if I can start justifying, hey, look, by paying for the venue to be open 1 to 2 more days and paying the costs of running another show for 1 to 2 more days, then I'll do it. I would think of it just from a financial standpoint. You deal with the fact that like RNG gets butthurt and their fans get butthurt.
It has nothing to do with like NA. It's literally just about China. Like, if you want this game to be successful, you want the most popular matches, you need better storylines, you need Chinese teams to go for it. Like, you need some of these teams that have rivalries to get to like a more important stage. So then like, obviously, like, Fnatic versus RNG is pretty hype, right? That elimination match is hype. Imagine if they played a best of 3, like, for that spot, like a week later. Like, a best of 3 is so much more hype, right? Like, even if it's not a best of 5 fully, I feel like just that amount of games, you feel like there's a more defined winner. And I don't know. I feel like in general, just if you want better storylines, you need to have like a tournament that allows for more comeback stories. Because you have like when you watch the international, I made this point before, you have teams like TL, right, in the international that come in 9th, right? Like, everyone, like, after the group stage, they're like, oh, this team is fucking shit. This team is garbage. They're just going to go out instantly. They make it all the way from losers bracket. They start in the losers bracket. They made it all the way from there to the absolute finals of the tournament. And then they're playing versus OG in the finals. And that's just like a super high match. It's like, oh my God, we have an all European finals. We have a team that's looked super dominant throughout the tournament. And then we have a team that like looked bad at the beginning that's just been beating everyone in the losers bracket. And people are hyped for the final. I feel like that's so much better than getting these finals where it's like, oh, it's Fnatic versus IG. Is it the first versus second team? Who the fuck knows? Oh, wait, IG just 3-0'd Fnatic, like, brutally. Like, a brutal fucking 3-0. It wasn't hype at all. It was boring. Like, no one wants that as your final. Like, you'd much rather see, like, G2 come out of the losers bracket after having battled all these teams before, instead of it being like, so Fnatic's better than C9, but are they actually better than, like, KT? Like, what about the teams that IG eliminated on the way? You know, we get so much more of a better accuracy of the teams like 2 through 8 with a double elimination tournament format after the group stage.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think we've talked this one to death, and I think we should close out Group C. If you guys have any closing thoughts here on the matches here before we head over to Team Liquid's group.
People said this might be Uzi's last tournament because of his like shoulder issue and his like arm issues, because just due to the amount of hours he plays, and he plays extremely quickly, and he doesn't play with good form, so that's been fucking him. If it's his last tournament, like going out on this feels so mediocre. Like after having that kind of,
I don't think it'll be his last tournament. I didn't get that feeling. That would be crazy if it was, but I feel like that can't be the end of Uzi. I feel like it can't be the end of Uzi.
What if it's the end of Uzi, man? That'd be.
Yeah, it's so sad, right? Like, I mean, even if he was like in the 9th through 12th seed, it's like you want to see that. Like you want to see like a more. You don't want to see just one game where they're playing Lulu and they just get brutally shit on and that's just it. Like that's not the end of Uzi's career. Like you need to see him like fight for it.
Dude, I think Uzi's a fucking insane player. I really wish he just goes back and looks at the replay. I mean, I'm sure he does, but there's some decisions that he makes he knows can't be right. The Baron Wolf thing like still bothers me so much that a player of that caliber would make that decision. I just don't know how he rationalizes it. And I see plays like, I don't watch him a lot. Like I see LPL playoffs, I see Worlds whenever he plays, I see MSI, he's at MSI. Like he has some of the best mechanic and he's so consistent, but he makes some brain dead decisions.
Yeah, I'm just flying it real quick because this was just
I would like to
fantastic
see
photo.
What I would love to see about Uzi is like I would like to see him with like kind of a super team. You know, like if you placed him into like one of the teams that already has like if you just took him and you put him on FPX and you just replaced him with LWX, and then he didn't have to take so much like and it kind of looked like, hey dude, you don't have to carry the whole fucking game every single time. You're already on a good team. Like I would like to see him be more of like a role player than this just like super carry. I know a lot of people are going to fault him for it. It's like, oh, that's just the way he wants to play. I think Uzi wants to win more than anything, but he just doesn't believe in like the people around him to carry him. Like, I don't think he believes in Jiaohu and Lang to carry him, you know? Like, it just doesn't seem like those are like the players he needs.
Do you think he doesn't believe in them, or he just trusts himself so much, or like he just has so much faith in himself? It's like, it's not that I don't trust you, it's I just trust myself so much more.
I mean, I just feel like there has to be some merit to that based off scrim results. Like, I don't believe that these teams like never tried to play around anyone else. You know, like even when I was on TL, like we tried playing around other people than Piglet. Like he would at least let us try it in scrims. Like I feel like that was just the result that the team got on, which was like, hey man, Uzi carries way harder, more consistently than Jiaohu, so we can't really play to Jiaohu and not Uzi.
I think it's we don't know Uzi. That's really hard to figure. That's really, really hard to figure. But I do like thinking about the idea of like, let's drop him in there for Teddy. Let's see what happens. Mata's already on that roster as well. You know, he's familiar, so we could go with that.
I think he could play that way with
never
Faker.
Yeah,
I mean, he respects the fuck out of Faker. Anytime like you see Uzi like shaking hands with Faker, he has like the biggest smile. And before the tournament started, he talked about how he wants to be in a group with SKT, how he wants to play Faker. Like he actually loves Faker.
I mean, those are definitely the two most famous League players ever, right there.
Like that's a super team. That's KD stuff. That's nuts. Mm-hmm. All right. So Group C in the books. One last look. This was such a great photo. I don't know who took this. That was so good. And then this goes back to your point, Dom, about him waiting to get back to the room and just try to hold it in and not embellish. But man. What timing to have that on the screen.
Oh shit, another huge storyline that we didn't touch on. EU makes it out with all three teams, with Fnatic getting out of this group.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Predicted.
You predicted them to get all three teams out?
Yep. Yeah. I predicted Splyce second. I actually over-predicted. I thought G2 would get first in their group over Griffin. So I thought it was G2 first in their group, Splyce second in their group, Fnatic second. That was like my play it or whatever, pick 'em, whatever it is.
Yeah, because we were on I think everyone else was on the RNG SKT hype train. I had
Fnatic getting out also. I just had Splyce not getting out, and I also had G2 first.
Oh yeah, that's right. Gigabyte Marines. All right.
How long has it been since Western team or Western region has gotten all three teams out? This is the first time, right?
Yeah, NA
has it ever happened before? And I know NA for a fact has never done it. Has Europe ever done it before?
Trying to think.
Season.
No, 2017. I think G2 didn't make it out, right?
Mm.
This has to be the first time. Then.
Yeah, I think this might be the first time.
More records broken in Group C. But this one actually a good one.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Congrats, EU. Oh, sorry. Also, rest in peace, Clutch. Okay. Group D. This one isn't updated because this is what I couldn't find, Loco. Like I searched the internet for a completed group structure, and they just didn't make it. They went straight to group draw. So DAMWON, Invictus, TL, AHQ. Thanks for coming, AHQ, TL. It's sadness. It's.
All right, let's start with TL.
Let's start with TL, boys.
Do you have XMT's tweet?
I can pull it.
What did he say?
I can pull it.
I did not see this one.
It's like it was just like a lot of like when people lose for the first time and they're like, "Hey guys, we'll be back next year. We're really disappointed with our result."
Yeah, wait, yeah. Let me pull it up first.
Like that's what people say when they lose like the first few times.
Yeah.
But once you lose like 3 or 4 times, and once you don't make it out of group 3 or 4 times, and it's the same shit over and over again, then you start tweeting what XMT tweeted.
Yeah.
That's right there.
Oh man, I just checked it right now. Jesus Christ. I mean, it is what it is, but like, this is how I see it. This is what I said beforehand. I think that this has to be considered as like a TL choke, right? Like, I feel like TL played significantly worse in the second week compared to the first week, and yeah, they're just underperforming, right? So I feel like just for some reason, it feels like NA like chokes. Like even if they're supposed to lose, like let's say they're just significantly worse than IG and DAMWON, the decisions they're making, like the way that they're losing so hard. It feels like once the pressure is on, NA just can't perform. So I don't want it to be like as much like, so the way I see it is not so much as like, dude, NA is just like so far behind. It's more like we're just such fucking chokers. Like this is a fucking TL choke. Like they should be able to do better than they did.
Yeah.
Like they got smashed every game in second. Like, and even the games versus HQ didn't look good. So
we all said, hey, look, they got the guy that's going to get him through Worlds groups. That's why we brought him in. Double If can get him 2 Worlds, and then Jensen's going to get him over the hump. He's the reason why. We take him out. We see earlier, Cloud9 can't function without him to get out of their group stage. Must be Jensen. And then
Jensen dying in the LeBlanc Kiana match.
Yeah, that's just like so game over. That's he literally lost so much pressure for that. That's your whole draft is about you getting a counter pick to Kiana, right? Like you're taking blind, like you're taking like the Xayah. I don't know if it was Xayah or Connor, what it was, but you're getting the Xayah for double. If you're taking like picks early and you're setting it up for like, hey, if you pick Kiana, we get our LeBlanc counter pick, which is supposed to be a good matchup into Kiana, and then he just gets solo killed in lane, and then from there Kiana just has permanent pressure. Like every single time, it goes from Kiana being able to, like, Kiana's normally in the back foot on that matchup. Like she's not able to really leave the wave. Like she's getting pressured on the turret. It went from that to like, now that Kiana is Moby Boots level 5, taking over the whole map, he could never get control. He had to just like cede control of the wave every single time. The whole map is just blown open by him getting solo killed.
They also invested more draft resource than what it looks like because they picked LeBlanc into Kiana, right? And they're like, there's a slight chance that this Kiana might go jungle. So I want to ban all the LeBlanc counter picks. And they banned Syndra Lissandra afterwards.
Wait, was it Gragas that was picked by IG in that game? What was the pick for jungle for IG? IG. I thought into the second phase they already had determined it was a mid Kiana, but I could be wrong. Where's the draft?
Let me go check.
I'm looking at
IG versus IG versus.
They had Gragas first pick. It was Gragas versus Kiana, but there's a chance Gragas goes support. But they did ban Syndra LeBlanc.
I don't think
Lissandra. They banned Syndra Lissandra.
Wait, what were the picks again? Say it was Gragas, Kiana, and what?
Gragas, Kai'Sa, Kiana for IG.
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance to go support, right? Because like the only time you see the Gragas support is with Yasuo, AD carry. But with them already showing AD and jungle, presumably, I feel like it's a mid Kiana at that point.
I mean, regardless of if they knew or not, TL still banned Syndra Lissandra. So to them, it could have been a support Gragas. That's how they viewed it as.
I didn't even consider that they might have thought it was a support Gragas. I feel like
what else are they doing banning Syndra Lissandra? That's what they're telling you, no? The Gragas is going to be support.
No, I mean I think that maybe there's like a chance where the Shy plays a top. I think that maybe they thought it could be a top mid flex, but I don't really know about them. Like I don't know why they would have that mentality towards like Kiana, or the Gragas going support. Like because I feel like have we seen one Gragas support without it being a Yasuo? Yeah. I don't think so. So, Yeah, and then I don't know. Have we seen any of Baolan's support Gragas like recently? Like, I mean, I know he played a Fiddlesticks game. He played some weird stuff. I feel like they just maybe thought it could be top or mid.
I'm looking it up, but someone in chat said LPL.
Gragas support.
Gragas support was big in LPL. Yeah,
but I mean,
that was into All-Star, specifically into All-Star, because Gragas E beats every other. Like when Gragas E missed like a All-Star W, the Gragas E
it knocks him. Yep, for sure.
That's when it was picked, but yeah, maybe they choked. Maybe this is actually the coaching staff choking also, or like Jensen asking for the Syndra Lissandra ban, but they just asked for so many things to get that LeBlanc Kiana matchup, and they still fucked it up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they have to have thought that the Kiana could still be flexed.
Dude. Also, Impact. Oh my god, Deshai Vladimir is so fucking scary. People are talking about how they didn't ban Vladimir, and if they wanted to ban Vladimir, it would have been in place of Syndra Lissandra.
Yeah.
But it's not like Impact got a terrible matchup, and he did fine in the Aatrox Vladimir matchup versus Naguri.
Yeah, but I mean, this matchup was so heavily skewed by Rookie coming with Moby Boots level 5, burning his flash and killing him when the wave's pushing away from him. Like, that's so big for a top laner dying there. And that's why I blame Jensen so much for this game, is because when he loses that amount of pressure, it makes it so the Aatrox can't pressure the Vlad. Like, Aatrox needs to trade with Vlad. If he's just sitting on a turret and he can never trade HP, he'll never end up winning the matchup. He has to be able to like trade for the pool, and then his cooldowns come up before the pool is back up, and then he trades again, especially when you're against phase rush, because you're pretty much, the Vlad is guaranteed to get out of your first combo, essentially, because if the Vlad QEWs, he procs the phase rush, gets out of the chains, etc. So this game, man, you have to have your mid laner winning. You have to have your mid laner winning, because your whole draft is about being able to pressure them. And like when you're drafting things like Olaf, things like Aatrox, like Olaf, you need to be able to walk into their jungle and bully the Gragas out of like camps, because that's the only advantage of the champion. Like, you need to be able to bully him out of camps, go for every crab, go for every dragon, put wards down. Like, you need to progress the game. So when you die and it's like, oh man, my Olaf can't even walk into the river. Like, you saw Olaf, like, he's doing his golems, he's warding over the wall, doing his golems level 6, because he's so afraid of like a 3-man coming for him. He's so afraid of the Kiana being anywhere at any point. Like, you just lose so much pressure based off the mid matchup here that it's really, really tough.
Just an update on the pick bans there. Only 3 players played support Gragas last year. 2 in topping the charts was Baolan, and he also played it in spring as well. So that was like a deep cut research thing. If TL like saw it and immediately thought it was support Gragas, but if there was someone who's going to do it, it was going to be Baolan.
That's when you're backed into a corner and you overthink things, and like you're like, oh, he played support Gragas before, so he can play support Gragas again. Where in that situation, I agree with Dom. It's so unlikely that it's going to be support Gragas.
At the end of the day, who gives a fuck, right? Like, what did CoreJJ have? Was he Rakan that game? Was it Xayah Rakan?
Nautilus, I think.
Okay, so if you have Nautilus, Xayah, right? If you have Nautilus Xayah versus Kai'Sa Gragas, you should just be like, yeah, we just win that matchup though. Like, you just win that matchup anyway. So, you know what? If they want to do something crazy like that, you can't prep for every situation. You have to like prep for what's most likely and just be confident in like your lane matchups to win. I don't think that Nautilus Xayah, I can't see how that goes terribly into Kai'Sa Gragas. Like,
it's coming. It has to come from mid lane. No, I want to make sure, like, I play versus Kiana, so ban Syndra, Lissandra. Like, it's not like core JJ or double lift. It's like, it could be support Gragas. Make sure.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying is that mentality, like, has to be like, hey, if they do that, then we're going to have an advantage in that lane. So we have to let them and then ban the things that we actually think could, like, counter our strategy. Which would be like things like, obviously, if they have, and also the reason why I really like the Vlad ban over like a Lissandra or a Lissandra or Syndra ban is because let's say they have to put the Kiana top. Let's say they end up going AP. Like, when you have Kiana on your team, normally you have to draft an AP top laner, right? Or an AP mid laner. Like, you have to draft AP in the other solo lane. If you just go with Gragas as your only magic damage there, you can get like armor stacked really easily. And that's one of the worst things that could happen to Kiana, because Kiana like has to build lethality and her damage is all like upfront burst. So if team stack armor, it's really, really weak against that. So I feel like just banning like the Vlad, you're going to get a good matchup top pretty much regardless, because you should know by the final pick like what you're laning against. Even if, let's say, they last pick Lissandra, IG last pick Lissandra, you ban the Vlad, it's like, okay, well, a Lissandra top is not scary at all if they end up doing some lane swap shit. So you want to play to like the win condition of, hey, we we have like potential counter picks, and like we're making you draft just like a shit team comp. Like maybe you get like this weird matchup that we don't really practice, but we're gonna make you draft things that are suboptimal in order to like get this small advantage in the draft, and you make the advantage that they get like much smaller than if you leave something like Vladimir Kiana open or Rumble Kiana, like these champions that you know synergize well.
Also, another thing about TL draft, and I don't want to hamper on Jensen even more, but one, he doesn't play Kiana. I'm not sure if Xmithy plays Kiana, so Kiana's out of their pool. And then the other really fucking big bad thing is they dropped Akali and they permabanned Akali versus DAMWON and IG. And that's actually... No, it's so fucking bad when you do that. Akali is the best first pick on both blue side and red side, like barring like Giga OP champion. She's the only flex pick right now that doesn't get blown out of the water with double counter pick. So drafting her earlier on helps your draft so much, and every other team does it. And especially teams like IG and DAMWON, they take full advantage of it, but TL can't do it, so they get fucked so much in draft even before going into the game.
I think they lost confidence after the first time, right? They played Akali. They played Akali game 1 versus IG into Orianna from rookie, and he was down like 50 CS in lane, and like was never a factor throughout the rest of the game. So it just becomes one of those things where you don't feel confident on the pick. You have to ban. You have to ban it. It's like we'd rather try to play against the Kiana than try to play against like an Akali in that situation, because at least we have things that we like have counter picks. And obviously they went into the tournament thinking that they could play Akali, and it seemed like at the end of it,
ever play top Akali?
No, and that was exactly the next point I was going to bring up, because they don't have the flexibility that other teams have with these picks. Like rookie doesn't have to play Akali when you draft it. Like you saw what happened when they drafted Akali. You can just give it to the Shy and he's going to play those types of matchups. Like most teams can do that. I'm pretty sure that
Faker, Sword Chovy, 3Z Mission. These are all the other squads that had flexed it.
So
every team has 2 Akali players, and TL has a half an Akali player. No, they have half. Jensen doesn't even play it that well.
he played it really well in NA finals. Like he played it like super well. I mean, obviously that is NA, but he played it much like more confidently than in Worlds.
At Worlds,
it also was nerfed since then.
Yeah, Akali was the most...
Other people aren't having problems with it, even after it got nerfed, but TL is having huge problems with Akali.
Yeah, because before it was a mid lane only champion, and now like you have to be able to play like fleet Akali top, and we just can't. So.
Yeah, Akali was the most picked, or the champion that was played by the most different players. It was 15 players there for them, followed by Kaisa had 14 players play as well, because definitely came in and played it.
Daniel, as we talk more about the groups, can you bring up K's tweet? He actually tweeted something relevant to the group. What else to talk about? What'd you think about IG overall? What'd you think about Ning Dom?
He looked kind of bad, right? Like he looked bad, but at least he tried to do stuff. Like he just looked mechanically not proficient. Like he would just make bad decisions, like, or he would just play fights wrong, from an individual standpoint. But at least he was like putting pressure on the game. Like he was in the right place at the right time. Like he was playing aggressively, whereas Lan was just completely useless in the games they played. So I think that Ning going forward is just your pick, and you just hope that like now that he's a starter, like, and he's practicing more, like let's say you go into the quarterfinals, right? You give him all the scrim time and you make sure that he's like going to play mechanically better and he has more confidence. And then I think he'll be just a better pick than Lan.
I don't think he played particularly well, but he played for the lanes, and also he can actually be proactive instead of doing nothing like Lan. He doesn't seem as greedy as he used to be before, and it doesn't seem like he's forcing over engages, but he's not like an exceptional jungler.
He doesn't look as good as he used to before, right? Like before it was like when his Camille was just insane. They would pick Camille every single time it was up.
Camille Zinzao.
Camille, Zinzao, Lee Sin. Like he would just play all these champions. He played Kindred, Gragas. Like he would play all these champions, force action early, and he would just out mechanic people. He doesn't look like he's better individually than the junglers at this tournament, right?
He would force action, but he would also... It would be off of like Bao Lan always roaming, Rookie always having the winning lane, or him taking a winning 2v2 top side. It's not just that he was good. He also had to force laners to come to him. And if the laners didn't come to him, it would fail miserably. And it also forces the laners to constantly make sacrifices for him and take the risk with him and hope that it comes out ahead. Good thing for IG, it was constantly coming out ahead before, but they don't have that same playstyle anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's still just better than what Leyan did, right? Like, at least he's playing with confidence. Like, he wants to, like, do shit in the game. You're going to, like, live and die by some of his invades, but at least he's going to give you the opportunity to win the game. Whereas I feel like Leyan is just kind of just passively there, and he's not going to give you the chances. I feel like a lot of times you just need to start situations for Rookie in the Shy, and they'll just end up, like, winning it for you. So as long as you're, like, in the right place and you're forcing the right action, even if you don't play it perfectly, just opening them up and like giving them that opportunity to outplay, to show off their skill. I feel like that's like how IG can win some of these games.
Look, did you mean grabs?
No, TL case.
Yeah, that's what I thought I did.
I can link it.
Yeah, can you just link it for me?
Sure. It's him being like a little bit, I'd say salty, but here.
Yeah, I didn't.
One thing that people were one thing that people were talking about was, does it make a difference if Case is there? Because that's what TL people want to know. That's what the TL fan base wants to know. If Case is there, like, do things change? It's really hard to say because he's an analyst, and it's really hard to ever know what an analyst does for a team. But he had really strong opinions regarding certain picks, regarding how they should have practiced. And when we talked to him on Listen Loco, he was extremely vocal about, I don't agree with like this kind of practice. I think we need to do this to get ready for international.
Bam. So K's tweeting out yesterday. Yesterday. Have to love when you're right about your position in terms of international.
I'm not going to infer too much, but I think what he means is when he was on the team and they were playing regionally, he probably made comments. He probably made thoughts about, hey, we need to change this and this if we were going to do well internationally.
Yep.
And maybe players or coaching staff, other coaching staff, like disagreed with him and said, no, we don't need to do that. We're doing well in NA. Also,
Grabs put out something as well. Sorry, I forgot that I was doing a display capture and I went to Grabs' tweet. God knows I like to give TL shit, but they will already get a lot of community flack for being the best NA team ever and not advancing, which is kind of true. In my opinion, they perform well and better than I expected. They had a hard group, and it's hard to catch up in the short time they had. I think TL is a very good team, impressively so when you take into context which teams they are surrounded by the entire year. That's a nice one. Crabs. For NA's sake, I hope this roster stays together and keeps building upon the lessons they've learned so far. I mean, I think that all of that is true and well written. Like, that was a nice little jab there to the rest of NA. But
well, I don't even think it's a jab. I think it's just like he's just trying to be like realistic. Like, that is part of the reason why TL is not able to perform as well as they potentially could, is because they play in a weaker region where they're pretty much like head and shoulders above every team. So no team pushes them to improve. Like, at least from what Grab said was like, I think in the other interview was like, at least Fnatic pushes G2 to some degree. So they have one other team that they can like fight with over like the title, whereas TL doesn't really have that. Even though TL like ended up going like 2-3 to C9 or like 3-2 to C9, it just doesn't feel like it's the same level of like skill that they're going to end up encountering in international play. So it's just like you end up with less to practice against, less to push you. Like, you don't need to play a Kali top. You don't need to pick up Kiana when all these champions come out, because like you're probably just going to win regardless. It kind of just makes you comfortable in your own style. You know?
Yeah. Peter Dunn would say something about that, man.
You forget about TSM? Who? What?
Yeah. Dude, it's actually so fucking sad this happening to TL. And Doublelift doesn't make it out groups for like, I think 4 times in a row, going 3-3. And there's so many people that make it out with 3-3.
Who got out with 3-3? No one got out with 3-3 this year.
Not this year, but so many teams make it out through like 3-3 past year. 3-3 is usually like just about good enough.
I feel like 3-3 is normally tiebreaker to get out. That's how it normally feels. I don't know if 3-3 gets you out ever.
Well, yeah, right here. J Team, RNG, and Team Liquid all 3-3.
Yeah, none of them even got a tiebreaker, did they? Oh wait, no, none of them got a tiebreaker.
Yeah, none of them got a tiebreaker. I mean, It all kind of played out itself. Splyce was the only one that played a tiebreaker because they were able to pick the game off against Fun Plus, and Fun Plus lost to J Team, and then J Team lost to GAM. That was a weird group.
Yeah, normally it's
really
a
hard.
tiebreaker.
I'm sure it was really, really hard group though.
Normally it's a tiebreaker, or there's a Korean team going 6-0 in your group, and then you can get out through 3-3.
I just want to just for European fans' sake, I just want you to see how Grabs talks about Splyce versus how Grabs talks about TL. I feel like in general you can infer what his perception of both teams' skill is based off what he said so far in interviews.
Oh.
He goes to EU, he talks about EU. He's like, yeah, we're a two team region. And then he's like, TL is you can tell just by what Grab said, he believes that TL is a better team than a team like Splyce.
No, Dom, he does that because Splyce doesn't have fans and they're easy to shit talk. Not because he actually believes in that.
Never mind. No, it's just that G2 just loves trying to be nice to NA. That those types of players just are really supportive of NA. Ocelot's always very positive about NA on Twitter, and they just want to hype up our region because they love us so much. That's what it is.
All right,
let's talk. Or we didn't even get to talk to DAMWON and IG because we were shit talking TL so much.
No, but I mean that's what needed to happen, and as you said, or as you guys alluded to, that was the end of NA. We needed to talk about the end of NA as well, so that was big. Let's dive into DAMWON IG. DAMWON waking up and being the monster, and again, huge props to Dom being all aboard the ShowMaker hype train, from the very beginning, even through the fact that they had to play through play-ins. When I think Dom's top list, ShowMaker was just right at the top. So
wait, was it? Was ShowMaker anywhere?
It was at the top of how much you talked about, not the list of the actual list of players that we did, but when you talked about players that you hyped up, you're like, this dude is legit.
Yeah, I considered him better than Naguri. For most of it, I just when I watched LCK, it just felt he's the star of that team.
Dude, IG trolled their draft versus DAMWON so much. I cannot believe they played Syndra bottom for Jackie Love.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to see it just looks really bad when anyone plays it. Mages, I think were something 1-13 in group stage, almost never won. I think the one win was maybe the first game that C9 played against HQ. Besides that, Mages just looked terrible bot lane. Perks locks with Zoe. You had every Syndra bot lose. I don't know. It just doesn't seem super, super strong when people other than G2 play it.
And also, you're supposed to get a draft edge by doing the mage thing. If Orianna into Akali, that much of a draft edge, that's what you get out of it. You're able to pick Ori into Akali.
I honestly think that was something that was really good for them in the game versus TL, right? Rookie played really well, and he was playing the lane well versus ShowMaker, and then ShowMaker just got that triple kill top where Ning overcommitted, and it just ruined the whole game. He wasn't able to pressure the Akali anymore at all after Akali picks up 3 kills there. So I don't think that was really that bad of a draft. I think it was just they misexecuted the top thing, right? Because he had pressure, right? He made it to the top fight. He had pressure in the lane. He was harassing the Akali, forced the TP out, and he was still up CS even after the Akali TP'd back, and he didn't even take TP himself. And then he was able to get pressure and roam top first. It's just when Ning suicided top and traded 1-for-1 and then opened up the Akali to just really chase them down, I feel that really ruined the game for IG.
Yeah, dude, that game was supposed to be one off the top side too. Jace got the first kill or first blood on Vladimir.
Yep.
The pink word longsword start. Whew, that should have been brutal. Shy also missed really crucial EQs though. I've never seen him miss stuff like that on Jace. And even when he solo killed Noguri for the second time, if Noguri flashed the hammer form Q damage, then he would have won that too. It was actually so weird, how small, the small mechanical mistakes that the Shy is making, because he's the player to be known for never making any kind of mistakes like that.
Yeah. I thought the draft was pretty weird from their balling, because I feel normally when you take Syndra, the big lane that I remember with Syndra being super potent was Pike Syndra, right? Because you burst off, Syndra just bursts off the first 3/4 of your HP instantly in a CC combo. Pike gets to land everything for free and then ults. But these lanes where they're playing I don't know if it was Leona or Nautilus. It was one of those two. I think it was maybe Nautilus. Yeah, I think it was Nautilus Syndra. It just doesn't look like the type of lane where you can actually hurt anyone. The Leona goes in for free, trades you, and what can you do? Even if you land all your spells on Syndra, you can never trade back. So I feel the lanes that people are playing with it are weird. I don't think that Syndra's is an AD carry that you can put into any lane. I think it's specifically you use it with certain types of certain types of support that do 80 damage.
Also, the other thing is he seems so unpracticed on Syndra. If you're in a position where you can get ganked, you never use E to create distance. you almost always want to use it to fuck
Kill
up
yourself.
gap closer, or like Leona using E, Lee Sin using Q, and then Syndra did none of that. It just seemed like he had no idea how to play Syndra, and they just really wanted that Ori Akali matchup.
Yeah, I thought the best so for DAMWON, the person that surprised me the most I thought was Canyon. I thought Canyon had an extremely. I think that the Korean junglers this tournament, I think, were the 3 best junglers in the entire tournament so far. So I think Tarzan, Clid, and Canyon played really well throughout most of it. Like, obviously Tarzan had a bad first 2 games, but after that I thought he really fucking smurfed first Yankos, like last 2 games. Out of Group B, I wouldn't say like Xerxes or Tien played better than them, or I wouldn't say like Broxa played better than them. It seems like the Korean junglers are king again.
Lyra probably played the best out of the North American junglers. So
Oh my, that's
Maybe.
so little. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put Blabber up there, but Blabber didn't play all the games. Yanko's not performing was really weird.
Yeah. I don't know why people would be confused that I don't think Yankos played well on the tour. Like, what? He entered almost every game.
Did you guys see the Kiana game?
Yeah, I feel like people just didn't watch him play.
They didn't watch.
Yeah.
He literally got shit on as Lee Sin versus Kiana, which is the good side of the matchup. Then he played Kiana into Lee Sin, got shit on again. Like, even in the game versus Cloud9, I don't remember him doing specifically well. Like, it just he had a pretty bad tournament, I would say.
Yeah.
So far.
No, it's just going off of name alone.
Yeah, no, obviously, like, coming into it, I thought he was like, I thought he was a top 3 jungler in the world. Like, I didn't have Canyon on my top 20 list. I had Yankos even higher than Clid, which is probably super delusional looking back on like the level that they came in. Clid was really good, I would say. So Clid, Tarzan, Canyon all seemed to play well, and I feel like they had a better idea of the meta. I don't think we've seen Talia out of Clid yet, but DAMWON, they just love it, and they play such like interesting comps with it. I feel like, so they did like the Talia Poppy, right, where you create the wall with Talia, and then Poppy can potentially stun you into the Talia wall. I think the other one was then they played Ornn support with Talia, and it's like the same type of concept where they build a Talia wall, and then the Ornn can ult into it. I think it might destroy the wall anyway, but you still get the initial knockup, and then like they played Kiana Talia in like play-ins and shit. So they I feel like they just have such like like they know, hey, when we get Renekton, we're gonna play Talia with Renekton, and then what else are we gonna like use to set up this champion to make it succeed? And yeah, like they have a bunch of ideas of ways to play it that a lot of other teams don't. Like, I feel like other teams with Talia don't really make use of the ultimate the same way that DAMWON does.
Mm-hmm. Well, that, and also just Korean teams in general prioritize Renekton because they're able to execute the Renekton Elite, Renekton Talia every single time. It's so funny. None of the other teams ban Renekton unless it's versus a Korean team or unless it's versus Joinby playing Renekton mid. It's just so highly prioritized whenever you play versus a Korean team.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what happened in scrims. It must have been every single Korean team was running Renekton Elite, Renekton Talia, and having insane win rates with it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they just prioritize the Talia over Elise with the Renekton because it's just more of a one shot with more scaling coming out of the jungle. I mean, I guess it's like an equal one shot.
The one shot I think is more guaranteed because Talia can do it past creeps,
right.
And also when you run Talia Renekton, you can get that late invade into splitting the map almost every single time. Talia level 1 is just dumb as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about on Group D?
No, I mean, LMS kind of crap in the bed everywhere. I guess J Team looked okay. I forget that they went 3-3 in the easy group, but they should be losing their seed spot, right? I remember there was that release earlier about how they're restructuring the league format. Now they're going to be slotting in with the LSPL, which is like the second Premier League. So that should open up some of the.
Do you think that means we just get like 6 Chinese teams in Worlds instead of just like? Do you think any of the Taiwanese teams are going to be better than the LSPL teams?
Oh no, hell no. But I'm trying to figure out what we do with those spots. Like to me, that sounds like we're never going to see a Taiwanese team at Worlds ever again. Like they just don't have the resources.
I just have to. I think. Yeah, I just want to see what Riot like says what the official announcement is like once all that happens, because there's like rumors about it merging, but then like how many spots are they going to get? Like what are they going to still be considered a major region? There, like how many teams get seeded into pool 2, pool 3 if they keep the same Worlds format? There's so much that like can change with just that.
Oh, so in your thinking, you're thinking LSPL is now going to be that second. It's going to be its own region? Because in my mind, they're literally just getting slotted under the LPL, and now there are 2 slots, 3 spots that now just open up for teams.
For everyone else?
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. Like, I don't think that like. So where do those spots go? It's like, is Vietnam going to get 2 teams seeded in? I can't imagine that whole area, like Southeast Asia, just doesn't get any seeds, and they all are wild card. Like, that just seems kind of crazy to me.
I mean, they do that to all of Latin America, like Brazil, everything south of North America. Like,
yeah, but that's a significantly, like, there's so many less players there than if you like consider like Taiwan and all of SEA, right? Is it LSPL or is it SEA that they're merging with?
I thought it was LSPL.
Okay, no, it's merging with C. That makes more sense.
It's merging with C. My bad.
It makes so little sense for them to randomly.
That's why I was
what is the C region now? Is it like
GPL? So
is that with Vietnam?
No, Vietnam is its own league, so they get to play a play-in. Which squad was it? So is it like the Philippines and like regions like that? Like, what exactly is it? It would be like Bangkok, the Bangkok Titans, Thailand. So it was Mega this year. That's what it was. But yeah, Bangkok Titans was usually the team that came out of there. Saigon Jokers came out of that as well. When it was GPL, and then their success turned into the VCS.
Yeah, I just want to know like what, like, I'm sure we'll get more context to like exactly how many spots they get, like, going forward after Worlds.
I don't think it should be that many. I think if you're putting them in a worse region and you're merging it to now be like, now we're calling this a major region, like, they're still not good. Like, we've seen it. All of my in-depth knowledge of these small regions, it's great. They're region champs. They still just suck. So,
well, I mean, Riot has a great chance and a great opportunity to actually redo the system now, because if they're merging regions and they see like the shithole that was like Group B this year and RNG not making it out, like, they have all the regions to fix the world format.
All right. So group stages done and dusted. Pour out another one for Team Liquid, Clutch, and Cloud9 for making history as the only major region to not get out of groups.
One last thing. Did you guys remember the double lift video? Did you guys all watch it?
Yep.
So
the 2-minute video, thing?
Yeah, him talking about, or Daniel, did you watch it?
I did not. I couldn't.
Watch it?
I saw it and I was like, I don't want to hear this right now.
It's just him talking about how, like, people are going to blame Impact and Jensen, but don't blame Impact and Jensen. It wasn't just about the solo kills, which it was kind of about Jensen.
I didn't agree. I understand he's trying to protect the team. I don't think Impact did worse than like expected. Like, I think he was in hard situations. Like, I wouldn't view it as a massive underperformance from Impact. I think Jensen definitely underperformed. I mean, Jensen believes that he underperformed. Yeah. Like, he tweeted out like, I fucked up, my bad. Like, I don't know why. Like, obviously, if you're gonna draft in that manner, and you're gonna, like, your mid laner matters a lot, right? And if he's just like losing really hard alone, it's kind of hard to not put any blame on him. Like, there has to be a reason that they lost, right?
Well, what was your point with the video, Loco? And then we can kind of dissect.
Because I think there was like a subtle diss towards TSM where he was talking about, it happened to me last year, or it happened to me that year. I think he's talking about the Lucian
2017?
Year. Yeah, the Lucian.
Or 2016, yeah.
And then he was talking about like how he wished like his teammates did this for him, so he's doing it. Like, it is good leadership, and it is like covering for your teammates, because Jensen can't say, like, Jensen in that position cannot say, guys, it was like a team play thing. Like, someone else from the team has to come and cover for him. So it was good.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely elements of team play, but then there was also individual. Like, yeah, it's not all Jensen's fault, but they like, he definitely deserves a portion of the blame. I'd say the game versus the game where they lane swapped versus DAMWON, I thought that was just a team decision. Like, whoever
Ocean Drake, what the fuck?
Yeah, that Ocean Drake just lost in the game, right? So it wasn't individually that somebody, like, if somebody was like really dedicated on that call, and like Smithy was like, yo, we're doing Dragon right fucking now.
It has to be bottom or jungle, because Jensen was level 5, he was in base, and he was TPing back. Yeah, so it's bot lane or Dragon. So yeah, that one isn't on Jensen at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that's a team thing, but I think game 6 that they played was mainly on Jensen. For sure.
The LeBlanc game, yeah.
Yeah, LeBlanc, the LeBlanc game.
Draft, the tools that he was given, like, people made sacrifices, Like Impact had to play with the Shy Vlad. TL didn't get 2 bans in the second phase just to make sure Jensen can have that Kiana LeBlanc matchup.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also just like a difference between the gravity of the mistakes people make. Like the way he tried to make the video sound was like, "Hey, dude, I fucked up too. Remember, I was playing Kai'Sa and I like ulted into the Vigard cage." That is not as big of a fuck up as Jensen getting solo killed in lane and losing complete pressure in a winning matchup for the entire game. Like the Kai'Sa game, like he was already like 200 HP. He was like chunked out. I don't know if he would have been able to find an ult if he didn't ult there anyway. Like, is he going to be able to actually carry the fight? Like, that is a minor mistake compared. That's like saying that Xmithy's mistakes of getting caught in the first AHQ game are equal to like Jensen's mistakes in game 6. You know, like I don't know. I just feel like there's difference of like the level of mistakes, and yeah, Jensen probably fucked up the most out of all the individual players so far this world.
Well, so you know, we've hashed out like I think Jensen's mistakes. I think in the video itself, which is why I kind of knew what it was going to be. It's good leadership. That's cool. Good of Peter. Good for him to step up and do that for his teammate that he does believe in. And yeah, I think he believes in him because he knows like he underperformed. Everyone knows he underperformed, and so
we know Jensen isn't getting cut.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't think Jensen needs to be cut or he's like unable. Like I saw a lot of overreactions where it's like, wow, Jensen has never been able to play international competition. You know, where it's like he literally had a good Worlds last Worlds. Like obviously they got shit on versus Fnatic, but like he had a good Worlds last Worlds. Did better than people expected, and then this Worlds he had a bad Worlds, but people just rewrite history to like they're like, oh well, he was bad this Worlds, he's always been bad, which is just very like prevalent within the league community. If somebody like did poorly now, then they were never good, you know, like that's just kind of how the minds of people work. But I just feel like that's just not true. I don't feel like Jensen can never perform internationally, or they need to drop him, they need a new mid lane or anything like that. I feel like if TL changes a position, they should only try to change jungle.
Yeah.
I think that's the only position they should change.
And they have an import slot.
Yeah, and they have a new import slot, but I don't really like an import jungler.
Blabber? Do you want Blabber?
I would rather have Blabber or like somebody like even like I mean, let's say C9 wants to keep Blabber and gets Sven Skaren. Like I think that you can get like an English speaking. I feel like you need an English speaking jungler there.
On Europeans are also imports. They also speak English.
Yeah. But I'm like I just don't want to see a Korean jungler in that slot.
I think for TL, it's not the worst. I know
because you have 2 Koreans.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 Koreans, and then you also have a very Korean coaching staff, Kane and Dodo. So I think TL is actually a team that could take in Koreans and still do well. But I understand why generally NA teams don't really do well with Koreans. They buy overhyped Korean pieces that don't fit in well with the team.
I think chat's popping off with all the different suggestions. Rainover,
Rush, Rainover,
Dardoch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Dardoch would. Dardoch. People like Dardoch. They need to like prove themselves. I feel like on lower tier teams than LCS that they like won't be issues, and then they can eventually like graduate to some of the higher tier teams. But I feel like with Dardoch's like performance in Academy being worse than previous performances from him, and like him having like the stigma of being like toxic in team environment, like he's gonna need to join a middle to bottom tier. Like I would like to see him on a team like Golden Guardians, you know, like perform there, and then potentially like if he's playing really well, then one of the top teams gets him. But I think that it's too like risky to take a player like Dardoch into TL.
Oh, also, what'd you think about Anivia Scion?
Yeah, I mean it's really good synergy. You can wall, and then your Scion can just ult into your own wall, and then then you just like fuck your own team fight. So. No, it's great.
I thought it should have been Gangplank Akali. I cannot believe they did Anivia Scion. Also, Jensen wasn't a good Anivia. Like, I can understand Impact Scion somewhat. Impact, like, plays Scion a lot before, and he's a good Scion player. But why Jensen Anivia? Like, that one confused me so much. If anything, Jensen Oriana, that one was just such a weird draft. I think TL has so, like, I understand that they're limited in picks, but I also think they had bad drafts. Like, within the tools they have, they still pick bad things.
How much of that do you start pointing a little bit towards Kane, right? You know, Kane won his coach of the year.
I will tell you this,
but
if they're playing Anivia, that is not a coach decision. That is a player decision. As a coach, I want Akali. As a coach, I want Gangplank.
Yeah, no, I don't think that it's a coach decision. I think the TL is limited by the champions that the players can play. I don't think the doublets can play things like Yasuo, Syndra, Heimer. Like, I don't think that he has that type of champ pool. I don't think that Smithy can play Kiana jungle, and I don't think that Jensen can play Kiana mid, or Impact can play Akali. I feel like they have limitations within their team that, like, this year, really came back to bite them in this type of meta.
Yeah.
Just quick, because we did we did touch on it. Froggen tweeting out, how come Anivia was picked but not played at Worlds?
Dude, I feel like all the Danish mid laners kind of like hate but still like respect each other a little bit, and all three of them think they're the best out of all of them. Bjerg, Jensen, and Froggen. If you ask any of them, like if you ask them in a private setting where no one is listening, who's the best, they'd be like, of course it's me.
And then the LeBlanc. All right. What am I doing here? Okay, there it is. All right. So we'll close that one up there. Group D, done and dusted. NA dead. What else do we have, D? We took
and people
the
are
D.
saying Caps, but you guys are fucking stupid. We're talking about the mid laners, the Danish mid laners in NA.
In NA, Jensen, Bjergsen, Froggen.
Don't get
What about
distracted by
Caps?
dumb
What about
chat.
Caps?
Dumb chat.
Yeah.
Dumb chat don't even watch the games. All right. Quarterfinals now, boys.
Yep.
Take a look at it.
Predictions?
All right, yeah. We're at 2.5 hours right now. So just a heads up there. We'll just start at the top there. So Griffin IG, SKT, Splyce, FPX, and Fnatic. The F's going at it. And DAMWON Gaming against G2. I didn't even mean for that to rhyme. Griffin and Victus. This is I would say this is closest to a finals match that we thought coming into it here, but we get it here in the quarterfinals. How about the group draw overall? So everyone on the left side can't play the right side, right? That's the way that works. So
Yeah,
Griffin IG.
So they do it. So if you were in the same group, you can't play each other until finals. So
Okay.
if you go on one side, the other team gets to send to the other side.
Okay. So it's the left side's playing each other, then the right side's playing each other, then you have the two sides playing each other. Gotcha. All right, Griffin IG. Thoughts there on these two squads?
Griffin wins unless Sword gets blown up by the Shy. That's like the only way Griffin can lose.
Yeah, I think Griffin is definitely the clear favorite here. I think IG looked really sketchy. The jungle situation doesn't look that good. Like, I would be scared putting Ning or Lan into Tarzan based off what we've seen.
We didn't hit on that too much. MVP Ning coming back in and looking like giving the reason why they were playing.
We talked about it. I mean, we talked like
he's not laying. I think that's all really IG needed, like for someone to not be laying, and it showed like how mismatched that guy was.
I feel like Ning will play better than he did. I feel like he was kind of thrown in there. Like, I don't think that they expected to play Ning like this Worlds, right? Like, I think that he was kind of just like a sub, and it was more like, if Lan plays really bad, then we'll use Ning, but we'll probably not. At least based on like LPL, that's all I have to believe, right? Because we haven't seen him, I think, since quarterfinals of LPL. So yeah, I just think that Ning will look better than he did, but I just don't even think that. I don't think that Ning can get good enough in the next week to be able to play against Tarzan. And I just feel like Griffin is a team like Lens played really well. We didn't talk about Lens that much, but I thought he played really well in the second day of group stages. I just can't see IG matching up across the map. Like, yeah, they probably have an advantage top, but mid Chovy versus Rookie, that's a toss-up right now. Both those guys are world-class. So you have that. I think it's an advantage for Griffin in the jungle, an advantage bot lane, even mid, maybe a little bit, definitely disadvantage top. The Shy is definitely playing better than Sword, but I don't think that is enough to carry them in the series. Like, I feel like IG is just not going to be able to match like the teamwork of Griffin.
Yeah. Also, like the way IG plays, it's so good for teams that are mistake heavy, but also when IG has to play teams that are really disciplined and that aren't going to like buy into their bullshit of trying to outplay, trying to get ganks that aren't really there. Like, if Griffin plays week 2 Griffin, then I don't think IG has a shot. I could even see a 3-0.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to go 3-1 Griffin. I have Griffin winning it.
So, but you think the key matchup here is whoever is coming out of the jungle, or you're just chalking that one up as just a W for Tarzan?
Well, I just think that they just have better players in like 3 positions. They have better players. Mid is about even, and then I think top is like a little bit sided to the Shy. But we saw how like the games versus DAMWON went, right? Like even if the Shy gets a massive lead, it's not guaranteed that they win.
Snowball it, yeah.
Yeah, like it's not guaranteed that IG wins when he gets a massive lead. So what happens like when he's I would say that like even though Naguri is definitely better than Sword, like overall, like people would definitely rate him higher. I'd say that the Sword looked more consistent than Naguri in group stage. Like Naguri looked very hit or miss. Like he would go down a lot of CS, he would do a lot of weird stuff. He had like obviously the misplays versus Impact. He had losing lanes versus the Shy. Like even when he had the good end of the matchup, I think he played Jace. Naguri played Jace into the Akali from the Shy. Like that didn't really look super good for him, considering how much pressure he had. He wasn't up enough to warrant that like being the strong counter pick. I don't know. I just feel like this like Sword, his job is to knock his shit on, right? Like that is like what Griffin plays for. Whereas Naguri is trying to like win lane, and I feel like that type of play style is just, it's going to be so hard for the Shy to carry. Like, how can Griffin not go into this match and just not play with the mindset, hey, if the Shy doesn't pop off, we just win, probably.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest matchup that's important is top. For the jungle one, it doesn't matter. Bring both of them. Tarzan's going to be the better jungler. Long as the Shy doesn't do Vladimir things, and they can afford to ban Vladimir. Griffin's a team that plays everything, and they don't really have the championship pull issue. So, yeah, just keep the Shy down, and then
we saw them flex the Camille mid. We saw Sword play Akali top. Like it's not like I feel like Sword is super one dimensional. He's like a tank only player, kind of like how he was originally, where it was like Sion Urgot, that type of shit last season. I feel like he's more versatile now. I think that he'll be able to like, he'll definitely be worse than the Shy, but I don't think he'll lose his team the series.
All right. So 3-0, 3-1. Are we going to take that?
3-1.
Lock it in.
I would say
3-1.
Yeah, I would say 3-1 Griffin.
Right,
3-1, but wouldn't be surprised by 3-0.
All right. Let's stay on this side of the bracket. F's in the chat for Fun Plus against Fnatic here on the other group stage match, or I mean the quarterfinal match. Fun Plus and Fnatic. Yeah, both kind of.
This is when both teams are like, oh my god, we got the easy matchup.
Yeah. I was going to say they're both excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Coming in.
I think Funplux, if they get abused in draft, they can definitely lose this to Fnatic. Like, they just believe in team fighting too much. Like, the game isn't that much about team fighting. Like, yes, in a sense, it is about team fighting. And also, one thing I wanted to touch on with Fnatic that we didn't talk about in Group C, they're really good about getting a lead and then snowballing it and not letting the game drag. So, usually when teams get a lead, people hate grouping up, especially mid and the AD carry, because those are both extremely farm-heavy roles where if you don't hit certain power spikes after you get ahead, you can fall behind really quickly. But Fnatic will get ahead and group and siege turrets and get ready to engage. So when SKT played versus Fnatic and Fnatic had a lead and people were in side lanes, like Fnatic just engaged over and over again with Veigar, with Gragas, with Rakan. Like, they're good about snowballing and they will take risks once they get ahead. And the way FPX draft and how they play, they can be really slow in terms of just waiting for a team fight and waiting for certain items. So I actually think it can be really bad for FPX.
I have Fnatic. Well, like, I've already done my predictions, but I have Fnatic actually winning this matchup. I was not very convinced by FPX. I feel like in best of 5, Fnatic is going to be like a more disciplined team. I feel like they'll adapt better throughout the best of 5, just because they're used to playing on the world stage. Whereas FPX looked similar to how Griffin looked, where they look like kind of choke heavy, but when they're playing well, they don't look as good as Griffin looks when Griffin's playing well. So to me, I think the Fun Plus, assuming that Fnatic shows up and plays their best League of Legends, I think the Fnatic can win this 3-2.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be that close at 3-2?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. I mean, I definitely don't like rate FPX as like pushovers or anything. I just feel like Fnatic at their best beats Fun Plus at their best right now.
Yeah, because it felt like you're talking a lot about Fnatic there, that you're like, but it's going to be a 3-2. That's why.
Well, I mean, I think also they match up pretty well into Fun Plus. I feel like LWX is not like a type of, like, not a scary AD carry for Reckless to play into. I definitely think that Nemesis will not get shit on by doing B. It feels like Nemesis can play into anyone. He's just very confident, like solid mid laner. I really like Nemesis' consistency. He's actually my favorite player on Fnatic right now. I think he's the best player on the team. But I thought
it was gonna be Reckless.
I respect Reckless. Like I think he's a good player. I just think that he's just not an AD carry that creates situations for himself, right? Like Reckless is probably like one of the best cleanup AD carries, but he's not like an AD carry that will force action.
Outplay AD carry.
He understands. So Reckless is the type of player. There's two types of AD carries. I feel like I was talking about this on stream, where like Uzi will aggressively like use abilities to get into you, and then he's gonna try to like think about, hey, which cooldowns am I gonna flash? Which cooldowns am I just gonna try sidestep? Like he's gonna make aggressive plays and then force you to hit him with certain abilities, and he's like already like in his head ready for them to come out, and he's more willing to like sidestep and dodge, where Reckless is more like he wants abilities to be used, and once he sees like key abilities get used, he just like goes ham. Like he knows when to go ham, but it's always like he waits for cooldowns to be used first and then does it afterwards. So I don't know. I feel like that's fine. You know, I feel like that style can lose out to aggressive AD carries. Like people like Viper, like people like Uzi. I think that can lose out to those types of players if things are really, really even and like he needs to create that space. But I think that he's surrounded by enough playmakers, like with like Hilly, even though Hilly ends half his games at Worlds, he's still gonna like try to make plays, right? He's gonna try to make plays. Bwipo's gonna always try to make plays. Like he has people that are willing to like sacrifice themselves to try to set him up. So he doesn't need to play super aggressively himself in order to have Fnatic win. I feel like Nemesis has been playing consistent. I think that I like him a lot going into a best of 5. I think there's a lot of things that he can play well. We only saw one game of his Kayle, but I think his Kayle is actually still really good. His TF is still really good. He has counter picks like Vigar. His Cassio is solid. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that I think that Fnatic can win this. I think Fnatic will win 3-2.
I think Fnatic 3-1. I actually I'm worried for FPX because the players that have to show up didn't really show up that hard. I thought
they need LWX and Gimgoon to show up, right? That's what you're gonna say.
LWX, Gimgoon, but also like Crisp and Tien, like they played well, but I thought they were gonna be insane, like top 10, like best in position kind of players. The only player that was like kind of what I expected was Doinby in terms of pick and level of play. And also Gimgoon is supposed to be one of the best weak side top laners, and he didn't show that at all. Like LWX, when given resource, is supposed to take over the game. I think LWX and Gimgoon are the two players that need to like show the most, but Tien and Chris also their level just isn't matching up to what I saw regionally.
I thought Tien played pretty okay the second half of the group. I thought Gimgoon was just like really underwhelming. Like the Renekton versus Kennen matchup, obviously it's bad for Renekton, but he was down like 50 CS before he got a kill in that matchup. And then the lane where I was really, really like low on Gimgoon is when he played GP into Chachi's Cho'Gath.
Oh god.
And he went Grasp, right? So like normally like when you watched I think Impact played versus Cho'Gath. Somebody played versus Cho'Gath with GP.
You want to farm the Cho'Gath.
Yeah. You normally go Klepto and farm the Cho'Gath, right? But Gimgoon took Grasp into Cho'Gath and then still was down 30 CS and like almost pure laning. So I don't know, like that was supposed to be his champion, right? Like Gimgoon was supposed to be, hey dude, this guy is like a GP god. He plays weak side the entire time, never goes down and farm, like always ends up being like, you know, relevant throughout the game. It just didn't feel like he was the same player. So I don't know. I feel like Wibble will come into it playing confidently, and I just don't know if Gimgoon will be able to just shit on Bwipo.
I think whoever gets Gangplank is going to be so ahead. Yeah, because Bwipo is the better Gangplank player. It's so weird to say. Before going into the tournament, I probably would have told you Gimgoon's the best Gangplank player in the world. And he's the best weak side player in the world, but he's not showing up any of that. Like, it's so weird with Chinese teams sometimes. Like, they do so well regionally and they have a certain style, and you expect them to be able to carry it over because internationally, a lot of times people aren't good as the Chinese players. Maybe the Koreans, maybe some of the Europeans, but generally you're going to play against worse opponents. But he's struggling.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling. Like, I think if he's struggling versus Chachi, he's not going to do that well versus Bwipo. That's how I see it.
I think there's something to be said, especially for a squad like FunPlus, that they've been playing to their opponent's level. So, you know, you had a crappier group, you were kind of playing lower. And so Fnatic saved their best performance for last there against RNG when they needed it the most, and they leveled up. So there's something there. But as we talked about earlier, Loco, you talk about a team, how they normally are, their normal standard, if you take a look at everything, compared to form. We were talking about that with Griffin when we hit Group A at the very beginning of the show. And, like, Fnatic's form is just... it's great, you know. How can you go out higher than beating the demon that had, you know, held you down in RNG to qualify and knock them out?
And SKT.
Yeah.
They're really good second day.
Yeah.
Besides for the clutch game. The worst game they played was against the worst team that they played.
Yeah. See, again, playing down to your opponents. So it is a real thing, and even Fnatic are subject to it. So we've got 2 FPX wins here. Other side of the bracket. SKT
I have
Splyce.
Fnatic win. I have Fnatic win.
I mean, sorry, two
Yeah.
Fnatic wins. Sorry, 2 Fnatic wins
Yeah.
here. SKT.
I don't
and Splyce.
I don't even want to talk about this.
Come on.
This is like,
Dude,
this is like
Come
a
on,
Rio for
let's
SKT.
go give Splyce some motivation, guys.
I
Let's
don't
give him some
care.
motivation. Peter Dunn's
I don't
gonna
give a
slap
fuck.
that shit right there on the bulletin board. Hey, look at
Maybe
these
3-1.
armchair analysts that don't know what the heck they're
Maybe
talking
3-1.
about.
Riot said they wouldn't mess with the format, but they gave SKT a bye because they won 3 worlds in a row, so they get to go to semis for free. Like, SKT versus Splyce is a nightmare matchup for Splyce.
Yeah. No, but I mean, Loco, don't you remember Misfits 2017?
What do they have in common with Splyce? That they're both from Europe?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Misfits played like the best series of their lives and still lost. So I don't really know a point I was making, but that's what people tell me. So I wanted to see how you handled it.
Well, Misfits had a really interesting read on the meta, and that SKT was so gutted. They had Faker, and like Bang could play late game. They had 1 player in the early part of the game, and then they had 2 players later on. Like Huni was playing tanks when he was like a garbage tank player. Like that SKT was probably the worst version of SKT.
Who was it? It was Huni and Untara?
Huni, Peanut, I think it's either Blank, and Faker, Bang, Wolf. But it wasn't the good Bang Wolf. It was the shitty Bang Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Because they had to make the decision: were they bringing Blank or were they bringing Untara? And they went with Huni. So Untara stayed at home.
Yeah.
Sad boy.
Yeah. I just hate, like, that is just pure narrative comparison. Like, oh, it's SKT versus Misfits, SKT versus Splyce. Literally the only thing they have in common is their European teams. It's not the same SKT. They're completely different players. Like, what the fuck are we comparing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the EU hype train. I've been rating them as high as possible, but like, there's no world where you can, like, even if Splyce somehow upsets, there's no way that you can predict Splyce to upset SKT based on what we've seen and based on the team strength going in. There's nothing that would indicate that.
I have nothing to say. I'm sure Splyce coaches will tell me some reason why Splyce is comparable to Misfits and how they have a shot, and I'm underestimating them again. But this is a team I watched throughout the year, and you guys have no shot.
All right, it's pretty damning there. I'm trying to think. In gambling, odds makers, you know, if you have $100, you gamble $100. If you put SKT down, how big of favorites are they? So you put $100 down, you only win $10. So like, if you put $100 down on Splyce, would you get $1,000?
10 to 1 odds. 10 to 1 odds. I mean,
what else would you want?
I don't know. I think it would be higher than that. Like, 10 to 1 odds. Like, do I think that Splyce wins the series 1 out of 10 times that they play it? Probably not.
More like 20 out of 1. Like, if they play 20 times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, 20 to 1.
Apparently it's 17 to 1 right now. But yeah, like,
that's actually what I was thinking. 17 to 1 sounds like about right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Like 16.8 to 1, I would say. Definitely. Like, I was thinking the same exact thing.
See, great minds think alike. All right, well, go get your odds now when you have the opportunity. Yeah. All right, SKT Splyce. SKT with the bye. And final one to take a quick look at here. DAMWON and G2. This here, another heavy hitting one. So thoughts here, guys.
DAMWON versus G2. Oh, G2 got a pretty good matchup. I think, other than them dodging Griffin. Okay, they actually can't get Griffin. So it was what, SKT, Funplux, or DAMWON? I think FPX was probably the weakest first seed, so they got a pretty decent matchup. Dodging SKT feels good.
Do you think DAMWON's stronger than FunPlus?
Yeah, you don't?
I think based on what we've seen, like they probably looked a little bit better. I don't know if they're actually better though. Like, I don't know. I feel like DAMWON is. I still feel like DAMWON's overrated, right? Like, I don't think that they. I think that like they obviously like beat IG and TL, but I don't think that IG and TL were as good as like I don't know like Griffin or G2 or like any of these teams. Like I have DAMWON actually losing to G2. I have G2 winning the series.
Oh, this is the first one where we're gonna differ on because I think DAMWON will win.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bias. Korean bias.
I have a feeling G2 will pull it out when it matters. It just doesn't feel like this whole year for G2. I can't imagine it ending in quarters.
But it's not an on paper thing. It's more of a feeling thing, or like just leading into like G2 being clutch.
It's on paper. I feel like Jankos will play better, and I think that the solo laners can match up, and I think that G2 has better bot lane. So I feel like as a team, G2 just like matches up pretty well.
This G2 never lost the best five. Like this G2 like always plays up to the level of their opponents, but like I feel like all those things like you kind of have to lean into like some of the G2 magic, and it's not really like an on paper thing, but like expectations that they will overperform compared to what they've shown in groups. I
don't necessarily think that they need to overperform like to perform better than they did in groups. I feel like if they just perform at their natural level, like Perkz is looking great this tournament, right? He's looking like one of the best players in the world. I feel like Mickey and Jankos will show up when it matters. Plus, I feel like this is the first like DAMWON, like everyone like DAMWON has not been that great in best of fives. Like didn't they get 3-0'd? Yeah, they got 3-0'd on their way to like drop down to regionals. So I just don't think that they're super good in best of fives, and I also don't think that G2 is going to play with that much pressure against them. Like G2 is always so good. One of the strengths of G2 is I feel like when things get serious, whenever there's these huge hype matches where it feels like, oh shit, like they could actually lose this. Like when they played SKT and MSI semis, it seems like they're just able to like play their best when it matters because they have kind of like a carefree, relaxed mentality. And I think that's going to help them a lot when playing against a team like DAMWON, because DAMWON does seem like a team that could be like stressed going into it or like will play a little bit nervous.
And we have the tweet here. Last year, there was also a team that looked like they were going to get first seed, but then lost twice in a row and got second seed instead. They went on to face a Korean telecom team in knockouts. So Perkz already driving the narrative here for G2 in the squad.
I'm going to go 3-2 down one. I just think they've shown a lot more than G2 has, and G2 is going to have to overperform, and you can call it like G2 just has to play to their level, but their level has always been up and down. The same way we can expect Jankos to play better, the same way we can expect Mickey and Wonder to play better. Couldn't I also say the same thing about Caps has been playing so well, so I can expect them to play a little bit worse?
Maybe,
no, but if you're going to talk about underperforming players playing better, right, then we can also say the same thing regarding overperforming players to play worse.
Yeah, but I feel like even if Caps plays a little bit worse, like I feel like there's so much room for Jankos to play better. Like Jankos is such a talented jungler, right? Like he's at his peak, he's one of the best junglers in the world. Like almost everyone had Jankos higher than Canyon on their top 20 list going into Worlds, right? This guy, if he's playing well and Canyon's playing well, most people believe that he's a better jungler than Canyon. So there's so much room. Like he played like ass for Jankos level in groups. I feel like he can play like so much better, where even if Caps plays a little bit worse, they'll still be okay. Like if Caps plays a little bit worse and Jankos plays a lot better, then they're coming out ahead in terms of like overall team strength.
I mean,
I think
to make a point to Loco's thing, we've been talking about what's the form coming into it. G2 almost made like the biggest meme in those last couple games for against Griffin. The score was 2-21, so they were G2 and 21, G2 23 or something like that. The whole time this chat was spamming, and it just looked butt all around. I know we keep harping on Jankos, and he didn't have a great tournament, but nobody was playing well in their last couple games.
For the European fans, in case you don't understand, what me and Dom are both saying is like G2's level will normalize. Like Jankos, Wonder, Mickey X normally don't play this badly, so we can expect them to play better, but vice versa. Caps have just been so on form and been pretty mistake-free for majority of the games, other than maybe like the Cassiopeia game. So we can also expect them to normalize. Like you can't expect overperforming players to constantly overperform or underperforming players to constantly underperform.
I mean, I guess Perks is technically overperforming, but I just am very confident in Perks this world. Like he just looks like he looks like he's playing with the confidence, the demeanor of like a top player in the world, you know? So I just have faith in G2. I think that they're going to win 3-1.
Whew.
What do you have for scoreline?
3-1.
3-1. Okay.
3-1
Yeah,
G2,
Loco.
yeah.
Where are you at? Where are you sitting at, man?
3-2 down one. Nuclear also played better. We'll see.
Yeah, Nuclear played better, but even when Nuclear is playing better, like he just makes such big fucking mistakes sometimes that I just have no confidence in him, like as a carry on that team. You know, like when he's playing better, it's like, oh, he played a pretty good game. He had his lane camp the entire time. The Poppy support is pop out. He just eased straight into the enemy Gragas and dies. I don't think you can do that shit in quarters versus G2. I don't think you can do that shit.
And this is going to be like the most hometown crowd matchup here. I guess we have 3 games here, but Fun Plus has a big contingency of fan, and there's no bigger traveling fan base than I think SKT. So DAMWON,
the Chinese teams have insane traveling fan base.
Yeah, that's what I said. So the Fnatic.
Too bad most of those fans are probably back home already after RNG goes out. So who cares?
That's kind of true. All right, that's going to be a heck of a matchup.
Like, isn't Madrid like also Oslo's?
Yep.
Also, like that's like Oslo's home.
Well,
country.
it's a home country. Yeah, he's
Spain. So.
Oh, are you playing Chicago? You must have a lot of NA fans there, right? A lot of American fans there, right? That's kind of. But yeah,
I know it's different. It's like
it's way different.
San Jose. If TSM played in San Jose, there would be a lot of Bay Life.
Yeah, it's like within your state, kind of. That's more how I view like the European countries. Like,
look at it.
Okay, Madrid isn't a country. What I meant is
no,
from Spain. Yeah, and no, chat is like Madrid is a country. I also said that yesterday, where I was like Paris is a country. Yeah. So I want to make sure.
And I want to clarify. I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus. I definitely took it for what you said.
I mean, no, my point was like I feel like European culture is, if you're Spanish, right? Like it's not like, oh shit, like the difference between LA and Chicago where like neither city cares about each other because America's so big. In Europe, it feels like countries are almost similar to like how states are here, where it's like it's within your own country. So it doesn't matter if you're not from Madrid, you still have that huge Spanish crowd. Also G2, like I think their first like they have like a bunch I think their first gaming house was in Spain. And they've always just been like a participant of the Spanish league as well. So I just feel like it is a decently G2 favored crowd in that country.
I mean, they have Spanish jerseys. I remember them doing like the red version. Like they definitely lean into that aspect. Hey, we are like a team with Spanish roots.
All right. Well, G2, DAMWON, that's our only split guess here by our analysts moving forward. Cool, man. That was a lot that we recapped here. 2 hours, 50 minutes. That's a lot of episode for you guys to listen to for free on YouTube and wherever the heck else we post this on Loco subscribed videos. If you're a subscriber, you can watch it on Twitch as well. Guys, any final thoughts before we close it out and watch all of the quarterfinals unfold next week?
Well, according to Dom, anything below 4K is a dead stream. We're almost there. We hit 3K, so hopefully we keep growing and we can stop being a dead stream.
People tell me I'm a dead streamer. I turn on my stream. It's 5 minutes in. I've got 400 viewers. People, it's just been my intro screen. People tell me I'm a dead streamer, so might as well.
Dead streamer, man. Again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. We appreciate you. Again, follow us on social medias, myself, Dom, Loco, and tweet at us if you're from Harvard. Please, I'm really excited to see that tweet, man.
You're going to get 0 tweets, dude.
No, I feel it. We have to have at least somebody. We get so many viewers. There might be somebody.
If you go to Harvard, then you probably don't go outside a lot. If you don't go outside a lot, you probably play a lot of video games.
A lot of League of Legends.
Yeah, you probably play League. You probably from NA. You probably watch this. I think you'll probably get 1 or 2.
And if you play enough NA solo queue, then you probably drop out of Harvard because you'll lose so much intelligence. So, yeah, it's just a cycle that never breaks, I guess.
Yeah.
It's okay if you're a dropout. Tweet at us with like a student badge or a Harvard t-shirt or something.
Yeah. Yeah, just tweet at us. Again, appreciated all the tweets throughout the week. Thank you for, I mean, I was already watching, but letting me know that definitely got in the game. Like, obviously, that was an exciting moment for me. We'll be excited to see how NA does in quarterfinals. Oh, wait. We'll be excited to see how quarterfinals goes for the whole, for everybody else.
Wow, really? Really?
Yeah.
We're going to fucking end on that? All right, nice.
We're ending on that. Bye, guys.
Good one, Beacon.
See ya.
Great one.